Hello everyone, welcome back to another project tutorial. In this video, we're going to build a fully functional e-commerce website using Next.js and Tailwind CSS. This project includes everything you'd expect from a modern e-commerce platform. User authentication, like signing and sign up, product search, shopping cart functionality, order management, estate management, and more. On the homepage, we display product cards, each showing essential details about the product, along with a button to add it to the cart. When you add an item to the cart, you can view it instantly inside the cart, change the quantity, see a full summary of your purchase, and proceed to checkout. Every product has its own page where you can view detailed information along with related product suggestions similar to the product you are viewing. You can also search for any product like shoe and instantly see all matching items. From the search page, you can also add products directly to your cart. To check out, we click the cart icon. Since we are not logged in yet, we've redirected to the login page. Here you can either sign in or create a new account. I create one using an email and also set a password and add a name. After signing up, I log in using the same details. Now that I'm logged in, I see my avatar in the Navbar. From there, I can access my profile, view orders, or log out. Let's return to the cart and complete the checkout. After clicking checkout, we are redirected to Stripe for payment. I enter a test card number, which is 842, an expiry date, and a CVC. It can be any numbers. After confirming the payment, we've taken to a success page. In the menu, we can now access our orders page where we can see all ordered products, their prices, total price, and the current status like processing. For backend and content management, we are using OneEntry, a secure and easy to use headless CMS. We use it to manage products, orders, pages, and more. Inside OneEntry, you can easily add a new product by clicking the plus icon here. Let's add a new stylish shoe. I'll enter the title, a price of 150 for example, a short description, US dollar as the currency, and also we can upload an image here. Once saved, the product appears instantly on the homepage and in the shoe section. No need to manually update the UI. I can now search for the new shoe and see it live on the website. Super convenient. OneEntry also lets you manage forms like signing, sign up, and order forms right from the dashboard. Also inside OneEntry, we can view new orders like the one we just placed. As an admin, I can update the status from processing to shipped, for example, and that change instantly reflects on the user's orders page. For styling, I use Tailwind CSS along with shadcn UI, a powerful library built on top of Tailwind CSS. It makes adding components like buttons, badges, avatars, and drop-down menus incredibly easy. I'll show you how to use shadcn UI components throughout the tutorial. Finally, we'll deploy the whole application to Vercel for free, and you'll be able to share your site with your friends or include it in your portfolio. Alright, let's build this complete e-commerce project using Next.js, Tailwind CSS, OneEntry, and Stripe. In the next section, we're going to install Next.js, Tailwind CSS, and create our first template. So see you in the next section. Alright, welcome back. In this section, we're going to install Next.js, Tailwind CSS, and create our first template. As you can see, I have put the final version here for our reference. And also I have put the eraser.io, the diagram for you. So we're gonna step by step follow this diagram and install our application from the start to the end, how the app folders or other folders arrange for creating the pages and routes and also the API routes. Everything is available here. I'm gonna share this eraser with you in the description so you can have access to the diagram as well. So the first step for us is to install Next.js. So if you search for Next.js and we go to nextjs.org, here's the website. As you can see, they have the documentation here. You need to go to documentation from here, for example, or you click on docs on the tabs once you are here, you just go to installation, and in order to install, you can see we need to have this command. And if you look at the eraser, you can see in order to start, we need to create a folder called whatever we want to do. For example, here, we want to create an e-commerce website. So we just create a folder called Next e-commerce. And then we're going to run this command, which is available inside the Next.js website. So I'm going to create a folder. Let me go to my desktop. I go to my project folder. I'm going to create a new project called Next-e-commerce. And I want to open my VS Code. If you have Windows, you have here the open with VS Code. Or if you're Mac, you can add it to your quick actions. Just click on VS Code, and this is going to open the VS Code. But inside that folder, as you can see, the folder is Next e-commerce. So now we need to just open the terminal here. We just go to View Terminal, or you can just click on Ctrl Backtick to open the terminal here. The terminal I'm using for now is a ZSH. So any terminal you prefer, you can use. So I'm going to go to the Next.js website and copy this code, npx create next app at latest, and paste it here. As I don't want to create a new folder, I just add a dot at the end to use the same folder that I'm inside. It's not going to create a new folder. And then it's going to ask me, do you want to install this package? Create next app version 15.3. Say yes. And do you want to use TypeScript? Yes, in this project, I'm going to use TypeScript as you guys all requested. I'm going to use slints, Tailwind CSS. Yes. I don't want to use src folder. Yes, app router. App router is a new version of creating pages from Next.js, which is more comfortable and easier to navigate. So I'm going to say yes. Turbo pack, no. And as my laptop is a bit enough fast, I don't need the turbo pack. If you need to have a faster performance, you can add turbo pack for yourself. It doesn't matter actually for your final project. And import alias, I'm going to use the same one as a default. So this is going to install some packages like React, React DOM, Next, and some dev dependencies for our Tailwind CSS and other stuff. So this is going to take a while. And after that, we're going to have our pages. So I'm going to show you in my eraser. So once we install, use the next create, npx create next app at latest, and we create this folder, we're going to have some default files and folders in our Next.js folder. One is app. So all the pages, including the sign up and the main pages, is going to be inside this src folder, which is the root. So now we don't have the src folder. So our src is actually the root of this Next e-commerce. So we have the app, we have the config and JSON files. For example, the Tailwind CSS and Next.js, they have some config files. So later we need to change their configurations for our application. So I'm going to show it in our application, and then everything else will be in the root folder. For pages, we're going to use the app folder. Other things like, and also we have a public file. This file, anything you put inside this public folder, this is going to be accessible for the users that is using your website. So I'm going to just check the VS Code. Still the installation is happening here. Okay, now it's completed. As you can see, it was successful. So as you can see from the here inside our Next-e-commerce folder, we have a folder called app. As I said, all the pages goes here. I'm going to show you and explain it in detail later. And also we have a public folder that all the pictures and other things goes here. This get ignore, whatever you mention here, it's going to be ignored by the VS Code when you're uploading it to the GitHub. So this is very useful. Later, I'm going to explain what we want to add here. And also we have some config files, as I mentioned, like the next.config. And seems like the new version of Tailwind CSS doesn't have the Tailwind file as well. But we used to have a tailwind.config file here. But now the version 4 of Tailwind CSS is a bit different. So now what we want to do, if we want to open this, let me clear this terminal. So in order to see our application inside the browser, we can just run this command, npm run dev. So once you do it, as you can see, the application is ready now, and it's available inside this URL, localhost 3000. You can just copy this, or you can easily keep the control and click on it, and this is going to be opened inside our browser. As you can see now, this is our application. As you can see, now we have the Next.js logo. Get started by editing. So if we want to edit our application, we just need to go to our app directory and edit the page.tsx. And once we save it, we see the difference inside this page. So if you look at our eraser, you can see inside the app, we have, as a default, we have a page.tsx inside the app folder. But what I did is a bit different. I added 2 extra folders, but these folders doesn't mean anything for creating the pages. Why? The reason why is we have added these brackets for the name of the folder. Once you add a bracket for the name of the folder, this folder is going to be ignored completely by Next.js. So we don't have this folder, but we put the page.ts or tsx you can add here, that this is going to be your home page. So main is going to be ignored because I want to just divide the authentication and the main page. So now this main is being ignored, and now we have the home page here. So homepage / is page.ts or tsx inside the main folder. So this is the things that we want to do. So now, for example, if I go to this app, you can see the app page.tsx. For example, if I completely remove this and add a React functional component, I just call this one, for example, homepage. And if I go to the website, you can see we have homepage, which we have written here. Okay. But I don't want to, as I mentioned, I don't want it to put it directly inside the app folder. I want to put it inside an extra folder. So I'm going to create a new folder here called main. We need to have a bracket to ignore this folder. And then I want to just move this page inside this main. So we just say no here. And now we have the same thing. As you can see, we have the same thing, but nothing has changed except we just added a folder. So this is going to be easy to manage. For example, all our authentication would be another folder, and this folder is going to be the rest of our application. And also we can have this file, the layout.tsx. This layout.tsx is going to be the layout of our application. For example, if you want to add a navbar, you can have it here and see it in all pages. So this one is going to be applied for both of the main and the authentication. But if you want to have just for the main, you just need to have another file, layout.tsx, inside the main folder. So inside our eraser, as you can see, we have the layout to layout.ts. One inside the app folder, which is going to apply in all our application, including the authentication. But I just want to have a layout for just the main folder. So I'm going to add a layout.ts or tsx inside this folder, which is going to apply to homepage, for example, to this product page, search page, cart, and etc. For example, I want the navbar only to be in the main, but not in the authentication. So I don't want authentication has the layout for navbar, for example. So I just add the navbar to the layout. Okay, and in order to be sure that we have Tailwind CSS, I'm just want to add a class name here to test that we have Tailwind CSS. We just say text. For example, I want to make the text bigger, or I just want to change the color, for example, to red. If you check our applications, you can see now we have a red color. So the Tailwind CSS is working. So if you want to have this suggestion, as you can see from me, I have some, when I say text red, I get some suggestion here for colors. So in order to have them, you need to install a package called, an extension called Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. So if you install this one, you're gonna have this suggestion. And also, as I earlier write down here RFC, and I got the React functional component. In order to have that one, you need to install this extension, ES7 React Redux React Native Snippets. You just search it here. For example, Tailwind CSS. You search here, and you find this one. Click on it and install. That's it. Here, you can install it. It's very simple. The other extension I have are not very important. You don't need to have them. For example, this one I think is useful. Prettier is when I save the code, it's gonna just format my code. And also when I change something in the, for example, this div, if I want to change it to h1, as you can see, the closing tag is h1 too. So this is going to be auto rename tag. So I use this extension, and also multiple cursor case I use sometimes. For example, I want to choose different things. So I have the GitHub Copilot. These are paid extension. You don't need to install them. I use them for just faster coding. And sometimes, for example, if I have some error here, for example, I need to change this one. I just choose this one, click here. I click on modify with this Copilot chat. For example, I said, change this and make the text bigger and more stylish, for example. If I want to quickly add some styling or other things, as you can see, and then I just press accept. So in order to just save your time, and instead of just testing on other things, Copilot is going to suggest you something and you do it. And sometimes you get an error, especially for TypeScript. When you have an error, it's very easy. You just select it and ask the Copilot to check your error and other things. It's very simple to do. So I recommend it, but it's not essential. It's not mandatory because it's paid, and you need to pay for, I think, around $10 or $20 per month. So that was it for our application. We have installed Next.js and Tailwind CSS, and also have created this default homepage. The next step is just to add our application to GitHub repository. So you just need to go to Google and search for GitHub, and you go to github.com. It's completely free, and you just need to have an account. You just sign up here. This is my account. You just click here on new repository, and here you just name a repository. For example, I just call it Next-e-commerce. You can just have a description, an e-commerce website using Next.js and Tailwind CSS. You can just keep it private if you want other people to see your GitHub repository. For example, I want to share this GitHub repository with you so you can have access to the codes. But otherwise, if you don't want to share it with others, you just make it private. So I'm going to keep it public, and then I just want to create the repository. So once you create it, they're going to suggest you, in order to connect your application to this GitHub repository, you need to use this code. It's just very simple. You just need to copy these 3 lines of code. This is going to add this link to your application, make a branch, and push all your code inside this. So copy this one, go back to Visual Studio Code, and now we have a new commit. So first we need to just create a message for that. For example, I just add everything here, and then I create a message. For example, install Next.js and Tailwind CSS, and create the first template. We can just create a commit, and then you just open a new terminal. I want to split the terminal and paste these 3 lines of code and here. And this is going to upload this code to the GitHub repository. Now, if you refresh this page, you can see that all the codes are here, and we have 2 commits. First one is just automatically added by Next.js, so it's not important. The next one is added by us. As you can see, we just create a new page, and this is just the main page, the home page, and nothing else. Okay, so that was it for installing Next.js and Tailwind CSS and create the first template. In the next section, we're going to create the signing and sign up page, and we're going to just create the UI of these pages. And we just need to create another folder for authentication. And for our sign up and signing page, I just want to create one file, and I'm going to show you how to create 2 pages with just one file. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed installing Next.js and Tailwind CSS, and also we have created this template in our homepage. In this section, we're going to work on creating the sign up and signing page. If you look at the final version, we can see the signing page is like this. Like we have a title, description, we have email and password, we have this button, and we have this question, which we can click on it and go to sign up page. As you can see, the page is just /auth and type is just login. And when you switch between signing and sign up, you don't see any difference in changing the page URL. So if you look at the eraser, you can see now we just need to create another folder with the bracket off. This is going to be just our authentication folder. And then this is going to be ignored because I don't want to have any layout for the authentication. So I've separated the authentication and the main folder. And here we have our auth, which we need to create one file called page.tsx. And this is going to create both pages, including sign up and signing pages. So these forms like email and password are here, email, password, and name are coming from OneEntry, a headless CMS. So we don't need to create them now. We just need to create this sign up, the description, and the button. Later, when we have registered inside OneEntry and we have created our forms, then we can just fetch these data and get the forms related to the sign up and signing. So we're gonna be understand and check the page. If it's sign up, we're gonna get the form for the sign up. If it's for signing, we're gonna get the forms related to signing. So I'm going to show you how to do it in the next section, but now we just want to create this UI of this. For UI, I use shadcn. It's a library which is using Tailwind CSS to create like buttons. Later in our application, I'm going to show you we can just create other things like cards, and we're going to create like this search bar and everything else, even the icons. We can easily design and add to our application using shadcn. So for installing shadcn, we just need to go to Google and search for shadcn, and we go just to inside the library. And here, as you can see, we can have different things. Like we can have like very beautiful, this one we're gonna use for our profile page. We can have calendar, we can have curves, we can have payments like PayPal cards. It's very simple and easy to create. Let's go to documentation here, and they have a documentation for all the frameworks like Next.js, Vite, and etc. We're going to use the Next.js. In order to have shadcn, we need to first create it, initialize it. So here we're going to use the npx shadcn latest.init. This is going to create a new setup for our Next.js application. So I'm going to copy this. We go back to Visual Studio Code and let me clear this terminal and paste it here. So I'm going to show you what it's going to make. For our base color, we can choose different things. I'm going to use just neutral here. So let's click on neutral, and it's going to ask me to proceed. Because it's using the Tailwind CSS 4, we want to be sure we have the latest one. So we're going to choose use force. So this is going to install the dependencies related. As you can see, we have now some new files here. One is components.json. So this is added automatically using shadcn. Also, we have another folder called lib or library, and we have a file here which is going to connect our shadcn to our Tailwind CSS. So these are automatically created. You don't need to add them by yourself. And also our global CSS is modified, and some codes are added to this global CSS, which is related to shadcn as well. So now we want to create our authentication page. So we're going to create a folder called auth with a bracket, and then we're going to have another folder called auth, which is going to create /auth. And then we're going to have a file called page.tsx. So let's create that. Inside the app folder, I want to create a folder called, so in order to write down the folder and file together, you can just click on file, you just say auth, and then you add a /. When you add a /, so this one is going to be a folder. The next one, we're going to create another folder called auth, and then /, I'm going to create a file called page.tsx. So as you can see, we have created two folders, auth and page.tsx. Let's create a React functional component first. So this is going to be the authentication page. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and our application. So we go to /auth. As you can see, now we have /auth. Let me refresh this page. I think something's happened and our Tailwind CSS is a little bit different. It's not working. So I'm going to install shadcn again this time. Let me delete these components first. I want to install it again. And this time I want to use that legacy peer dev dependencies. So let's refresh this page. Let's go back to homepage. Now the Tailwind CSS is working. So if something similar happened to you, you just, instead of force, you choose the other option. Use the legacy peer. So because the version of Tailwind CSS now is updated to version 4, sometimes you have to play with these items, options to get the results you need. So that's it. Now it's working. Our off.page page is created as well. So the next step for us is very simple. We want to create a page that is both for sign up and sign in. So the way that Next.js works, by default, a page is created for a server side. So the page is going to be rendered in the server side. But if you want to create some interaction to a page, for example, inside the login page, you need to click on this one, or need to write down something here. So you cannot have a page with interaction that is created in server side. You need to create it inside the client side. So the first thing you need to add here is to have a tag and say use client. So once you say use client, this is going to create this page just for the client side, not the server side. So it's very important to add it here. And what we want to add here, we want to import user state from React, because we want to have some hook to handle our application. For example, we want to, when we click on this sign up or sign in, we want to change a hook that is going to save and tell the page that we are in the signing page or in the sign up page. So it's important to have a hook here. And also I want to have a button. So this button, we can have it from shadcn. So if you go to button, if you scroll down, click on button, as you can see, we have a button here. In order to install it, you just need to have this utility, npx shadcn add latest add button. So you're gonna copy this, go back to our Visual Studio Code, paste it here. Okay, I wanna just try to legacy, or I don't know which one works. First, we try the first one. Okay, and let's import it here at the top. So we're gonna import that button from components. As you can see now, automatically we have created a folder called components, and inside the components we have a folder called UI, and it's created our button. As you can see, automatically this button is created for us. So shadcn is created that button. As you can see, for the default we have background, primary, something like that in the Tailwind CSS, but you can have destructive, outline, secondary ghost, a lot of things is added automatically. So you don't need to create the button by yourself, and you can have a lot of variation for your button. So once we have this button, we want to have another things. If you look at the final version, we have this icon. The icon is called chevron left. And once you install shadcn, you're going to install another package automatically called lucid-react. Lucid-react has a lot of icons. So you don't need to install any package for having icons here. So we just want to import that icon, which is chevron left from lucid-react. So you get this suggestion here. The next things we want to import, in order to go from one page to another, for example, when we click on signing, we go to signing and sign up to. So in order to have this change inside, or when we click on this one, we go to the home page, we need to have something called use router from Next navigation. So we just import use router from Next navigation to navigate easily from one page to another. Then here, I want to create a hook called is sign up. Sign up. So first, I want this page to be just created for sign up. So by default, this one is going to be for the sign up. So the user state, we're going to use this hook, but the initial value is going to be true. So the page is for sign up. Otherwise, if we just click on this signing button and change this hook to false, we're going to have it for signing page. Then we're going to initialize this router using router. We just call this function and we just call it router. So we need these two things to have that in our application. The next things we want to have, we want to create a function called toggle, for example, form. That function is going to be, when we click that function, when we call this function, we want to set the is sign up to the opposite of its previous, which is going to be, for example, if it's false, it's going to be true. If it's true, it's going to be false. So this function we create here. So now our functions and hooks are ready. So inside this div, so for this div, we want to have a class name. I want to make this one flex, and I want to set the minimum height of the page to be screen. And also I want to add some margin at the top, for example, 7. And then inside this div, we're going to have another div. We want to set the width to be full, and we set the maximum width of this div to be 3XL, and we want to bring it to the center using MX Auto. Also, we want to make this div flex, and I want it to be column, flex column, and in the large size and above. So this was for the less than large. For the large size and above, I want to make the flex to be row instead of column. And also we want to have a padding of 3. So now these two divs are ready. The first things I want to add here is that back icon here. So the back icon is going to be a div with a class of margin button of 8. In the large size and above, a margin button of 12. And also we want to have a cursor pointer. So when we hover over it, we see a pointer in our mouse. And once you have that, when we click on this div, so I'm going to add an on-click here. When we click on it, I want to send the user to the home page. So we use this router, and we just say router.push, and it's going to bring the person to the home page. So if this is home page, if you're going to go, for example, another page, for example, about page, we just say /about. And inside this div, we're going to have that icon, the shift left icon. So I'm just going to add that icon here. So the icon, let's add it, and then I want to add the class name. I want to make the text to be gray 500. Let's add a height of 6 and width of 6. So it's going to be square with the 6, and then in the small size and above, I want to make the height to be 8 and width to be 8 as well. Let's add a border of 2, and let's make it rounded, full, and let's add a padding of 1. So now this div, we need to close this. The div is closed. We need to close this icon. Let's close this. Okay. Let's see our final page. Okay, now we see the icon here. When we click on it, we go to home page, as you can see. So the next step is to add this header and this text. So I'm not gonna type all the codes. Well, once I explain a code, for example, how to add the unclick and other things, I'm just gonna put the code step by step and then explain the code if it's necessary. So it's gonna be faster for us to create this project. So now we go to Visual Studio Code. So the next place is to add the form header. I want to paste this code here. So we have the form header from here. So we have a div that is covering both the header and the paragraph. As you can see, if the hook is sign up is true, we're going to say sign up. If not, we're going to say sign in. So we have added this condition. As you can see, the condition is inside a curly braces. And so this is going to, in TSX or JSX, we can have a function inside our HTML. And then also I have just added some Tailwind CSS code to make the text like the final version here. As you can see, it starts from purple and goes to red. So it's kind of like this. So in order to create that, you just say background gradient to right from this color to this color. And between these two colors is going to be pink. And you need to add the background clip text and text transparent in order to this one to work. And I just add some padding here as well in the bottom. Then we have a paragraph. So it's going to be 2 paragraphs. If it's only for the sign up page, we're going to say this text, for example, join store today. And if it's not in the sign up page, in the signing page, we just say welcome back to, for example, our store. Okay, so you can have a dynamic text here and here by just adding a function here. So let's go to our website. As you can see, now we have this sign up and this text. Let me see why we have this here next to each other. Probably we have missed a div here. Yeah, I think we need to add another div here. I just removed that. We don't need the class name, and add these two to this div. Let me see. Okay, now we have a better sign up. I want everything to come to the center. Once we add the button, we're gonna check and do that one. So let me see if I just here maximum width. It needs to add a dash here. So now we are completely in the center for the sign up. And then I want to add that button so we can change the sign up to sign in as well. So let's go back. Now we have added the form header. The next step is to add the button. We want to add the button just after this form header. So I'm going to paste it here. Let me save it. So let's see why. Okay, let me save it. Okay, now we have this form. For the form, we have a div that is covering all of them, which is going to be in the center. Then we have a paragraph at the end saying that if you're already a member and don't have an account, if it's signed up, if it's sign up is true, we're going to say already a member. If it's false, we're going to say don't have an account, create an account. And we have a button. And if it's sign up is true, we're going to say sign in. If it's false, we're going to say sign up. So it's completely opposite. And once we click on this button, we're going to toggle the form, the function that we have created here. So if you check our final version, you can see we have already a member. We can click on sign in. Once we have a signing, we're going to trigger that hook and change this is sign up hook from true to false. And this is going to be signing. Everything is going to be signing. And if you do it the opposite, we're going to see the opposite reaction. All right, that was it for creating the UI. In the next step, in the next section, when we have registered to OneEntry and also we get the access to the OneEntry, we can have our form here, and also we can add that button saying sign up or signing. So easily we can interact with OneEntry and sign up a user and sign in a user. So let's add this one to the GitHub. So in every section, once I complete a section, I'm going to add it to the GitHub. So I'm going to add everything here and create a message for that. For example, create the sign in and sign up pages. And then we just say UI, and then I just commit and push. So this one is going to automatically upload the new commit to our application. And if you check it in this URL for the GitHub repository and click on this commit, you can see the changes I add. So if you don't want to spend time for the you can just come here and copy this code and add it to your application and follow the next step. So you just copy this one and paste it to your application. So in the next section, we're going to add the OneEntry interaction in our application and use OneEntry to sign up and sign in the user. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have finished the sign up and the signing pages UI. In this section, we're going to add OneEntry in our application to be able to get the interactive sign up and sign up forms in our sign up page. So for going to OneEntry, you just search OneEntry on Google and go to oneentry.cloud. So once you're here, you can sign up for free, or if you have an account, you can just sign in. I'm going to sign in now. So once you sign in, I'm going to sign in with my phone number. Just get a code. Okay, and then you can just log in. So once you are inside the OneEntry, you can see all your previous projects. I already tested this project 2 times. So you can just create a new project by clicking on here. So you just add a name for your project. For example, I just say e-commerce, or for example, next e-commerce website. You need to create a domain name. For example, I just say next-e-commerce. And if it's already available, you just have a check mark here. And this is going to be the domain you're going to have access to your application. So next-ecommerce.oneentry.cloud. And then you need to choose your subscription plan. So if you sign up for the first time, you get the coupon code to use the study plan. I'm going to use the basic plan. I have the coupon code for this one. If I have the coupons available, I'm going to add it to the description of the video. If not, you just use the study. It doesn't, you can do the project for both plans. Just the basic plans gives you more like you can have 2 administrators instead of 1. You can have 1-day backup, and you can have 500 requests per second instead of 15. You have 5 times more database records. You can also upload 5 maximum uploaded files instead of 2, and all other good things. For example, you have a disk for 5 GB instead of 500 MB. So you can have a better plan by choosing the basic one. So I'm going to choose the basic, and I'm going to add my coupon code here. So once you click on apply, you get that coupon. So it's going to be 0 for you. You can use this OneEntry backend for free for 1 month. And if you enjoyed it, and if you are happy with that, you can just continue paying it from the following months. So, and then we're going to create the application by clicking on this button called create. So the project is going to be ready approximately for 5 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video and come back when the project is ready. All right, the project is working now. It's completed. Once you see this working tag, you just go to your email and you can see your login information. This is your URL, and also you have the login and password. So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to add my login information. This is admin, and the password is going to be this one. I'm just going to add this one and enter that. So this is the your setup here. We need 2 things from OneEntry first to add it to our application. So we need to go to setting, and we just go to app token. We need to create a token here and add it to our environmental variable. So here, I want to add this app name. For example, I just create the token here. For example, I call it just token maybe. Just create it. As you can see, the expiration date is in 1 year. And then you can just copy this token and add it to your application. If you look at the eraser, you can see that we need to add our environmental variable in the root folder of our application. So in my case, is inside the folder called Next.js. So you need to create a file called .env.local. So here in the root section, I'm going to create a new file called .env.local. So, and I want to add this one to the .ignore, this file. So I just say .env.local. Just when I'm uploading my application to GitHub, I don't want this file to be uploaded. So this one is added now. And also I want to create another file called .env.example. So this is kind of example for you. This is not necessary. I just want to show you how to add the environmental variables, and you can see it inside the GitHub repository. So I add here the OneEntry underline token. And then this is going to be the token that we have copied and we pasted here. I just added to the example as well. So let's copy this completely and add it to the example. But in the example, I just want to remove this one, so it's not going to upload my token in the public GitHub repository. And the other things we want to add is the OneEntry, but this time I want to add the project URL. So project underline URL. And how do you get this one? If you check your OneEntry, you can see in the application, if you click here, go to access, you can see this is your URL. You just need to copy this and go back to Visual Studio Code and paste it here. I'll add this one to the example as well. Okay, so this is not important, so you can add this one. I just add some random numbers here. So this is just an example for you, what you need to add to the .env file. But the important thing is just name the file .env.local, add it to the .ignore file, and also leave it inside the root directory of your application. The next step to interact and add OneEntry to our application is to install OneEntry. You just need to go to your terminal and just install OneEntry using npm I OneEntry. So you need to install it first. And the other things we need to do is to create 2 files. One for getting the token. We receive the refresh token, and also we want to store the refresh token. So if you look at the eraser, we can see we have a folder called actions, and we have 3 folders: auth, catalog, and orders. Inside the auth, we need to add some files to help us to work behind the scene inside the server side. So one of them is to retrieve refresh token, and the other one is to store refresh token. Let's create these two files, and let's go to our app. It's not in the app, it's in the root section. So we're gonna create a folder called actions. Then we're gonna create a folder called auth. Inside that, we're gonna create a file called retrieve refresh token.ts. And also another file we want to create here called a store. So store refresh token.ts. So if you go to retrieve refresh token, so this is the code you need to add. First thing first, these files need to be inside the server. So because I don't want the users to have access to these kind of things, to cookie, they cannot be able to add cookie or get the cookie. So this one should be behind the scene inside our server. So we need to use server to create a server action. Then we need to import cookies from next/headers because we want to add that cookie using this function. Then we're gonna initialize the cookie store and call this cookie, this function. We need to add the await because this one takes time. So we need to wait, otherwise you're gonna get an error. If you don't use the wait, later you're gonna get an error. As you are using await, you need to make this function asynchronous. So it's very important to this function to be synchronous to be able to use the wait for the cookie. Then we wanna get the refresh token by using the method called get. So we just say cookie.store.get. We add this method, refresh token. Actually, we have a cookie called refresh token. We get it from the cookie and we wanna get the value. So we create this function and we can use it later. But for the store refresh token, the code will be very similar. Let me add it. So it is going to be inside the server. So as I mentioned, it's very important to secure the cookies and doing that here. And we just import cookie here as well. We call that cookie using await and we make this function asynchronous. What we want to do here, we want to set a cookie called refresh token. So we set it here and we retrieve it here. So two methods we are using, the get for getting it, for set for setting up the cookie. So once we get the token as an input, we save the token inside a cookie called refresh token. Later, I'm going to show you inside the browser how we save these cookies and use them later on. Now we need to create a new file for interacting with OneEntry. So inside the library, I'm going to create a new file called OneEntry.ts. The first thing first, we want to import define OneEntry from OneEntry. So this is for creating an API client instance. So we import this function to create an API client instance. Then we want to import two things. We want to import these two functions that we have created, retrieve refresh token plus store refresh token. Okay. So these two files we need to use inside this function. So after that, we need to define the type for the API client, which is initially is null. So we have a type called API client type. So we're going to get it from this define OneEntry, and the initial value for that is going to be null. The next step is to declare, first we need to define and declare a variable to hold the API client instance. So we have created the API client instance here, and we're going to just create a variable to hold that one, and we set that initially to be null. So we're going to create a variable for our API, the type of the API, and then we set it to be null at the beginning. Then we want to create a function to initialize the API client with a custom configuration. So let me just paste the function first. So this function from here, we're going to call it setup API client, and we're going to use the type from define OneEntry. So first thing first, we want to get our OneEntry project URL, which we have defined inside our environmental variable here. In order to have access to the environmental variable, we need to add process.env at the beginning. So it's very important to add process.env at the beginning, and then we can have access to our .env file, and we get the URL here. So nobody can see our URL, but actually we have the URL hidden inside the .env, which is gonna protect us. If there is no URL, we want to get an error. We want to send an error telling the user that, or the developer, OneEntry project URL is missing. Then we want to check the API client is already initialized or not. So if there is no API client, we want to create it. So we add a try and catch statement. First, we want to get the refresh token. As you remember, we have created this function for getting the token from the cookie. We get the refresh token, and based on the token inside our .env file, first we want to get the token, and also we want to define the language code, which in our case is English, but you can have other languages. OneEntry supports many languages. You can see in their website. So you need to define the language code for your own language. So the authentication is going to have this refresh token. So we're going to get the refresh token here, or we're going to say, if there is no refresh token, you just say undefined. Then we're going to disable the custom authentication by just adding the custom auth to false. And finally, we're going to save this function and save a new refresh token when it's updated. So we're going to have that file that we have created store, and we get the new refresh token and send it to this function to save it in our cookie. And if there is an error, because we're using the try and catch, we're going to cache the error. And if there is an error, we're going to console log that error and telling the developer that the refresh token is not available, or there is an error fetching the refresh token. But if the API client is still not initialized, we're going to throw an error. So if there is no, after all these things, if still we don't have the API client, we're going to throw an error. Otherwise, we want to return that API client. The next step we want to do is to add another function to retrieve the current API client inside. This one was for initializing an API client. The next step is to add to retrieve it. If we already have it, we're gonna retrieve that. So let me add this function here at the end. Okay, this function, what it's doing is to, first thing first, we want to check if the API client is not available. We want to set it. So how we set it? We call this function that we have created at the top. So it's very simple. If we don't have it, we're going to set it. And also, if we don't have completely, we don't have after even initializing, we still want to throw an error saying the API client is still null after the setup. So if we're going to tell the developer or the user that still we don't have that API client. So this gun is going to completely show us that we have this API client. So it's very simple. We're going to call this function. So if we have it, we return. If we don't have it, we're going to call this function at the top and we create it. It's that simple. So let's add this one to the GitHub. So I'm going to add everything. As you can see, we have already changed the GitHub ignore file. So to include the .env.local. So .env.local is being ignored by VS Code. So it's not going to upload to the GitHub repository. But other files, including this example, is going to be added to the GitHub repository. I just want to add everything and create a message here. For example, I just say, let's get a suggestion from GitHub Copilot here. As you can see, we have a message, add OneEntry interaction with token management and environment configuration. We can just commit and push this. So in the next step, we're going to have our authentication form. So we're going to go to OneEntry, create our forms, and then we're going to retrieve these forms and show it inside our sign up and signing pages. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have added the OneEntry interaction in our application. In this section, we're going to add the functionality to sign up and sign in the user in OneEntry and connect it to our application in our authentication page. So the first thing we need to do is to go to OneEntry, our application, and create two forms. One for, let me just show you my previous project too. So we can, first I want to show it to you, and then we're gonna have the same things for our new project. So let me just open this for you. Okay, let me just log in here. Okay, now inside here, I'm going to show you what we need to do. First thing first, we need to create two forms, sign in and sign up. But once we create them, we need to add some attributes. So if you look at these forms, we have signing, for example, with the title, with the marker, and then we have some form fields, which is email and password for login. So we need to have a set of attributes to be able to create this form. In order to create them, you need to go to the settings, and inside the setting, inside the attributes, we can create these set of attributes. For example, for users, we need to create two set of attributes, user registration and user login. So let's go to our own newly created project, and we go to setting, we go to attribute, and we create our first set of attributes, which is user, for example, registration. The marker I used for my previous one is user underline registration. Let me just copy this and put it here. And the type is going to be for users, and we just create. And let's create another one for user login. So we have one for user login. Let me just grab this, paste it here. And the marker is going to be user underline login. User underline login. And the type is going to be user as well. Let's create them. Now, let's go to registration. Let's add some attributes here. For the user registration, if you look at my previous project, for registration, we need to add 3 attributes: email, password, and name. So let's quickly create them. For example, here, the name is going to be email, the marker email, the type is going to be, I think it's going to be a string. Yeah, all of them is a string. Let's create that. What we want to do here, once you create that email, you just go to the setting and check this one, use as login. So we need to go to email, to the setting, and use it as a login. The next attribute is going to be password. The marker is going to be password, and the type is going to be string. We create it, but here, use it as password. We just choose it here. Let's go back, and finally, we need to have the name. The marker is going to be name, and the type is going to be string. We create this one, and let me see. For the name, we need to choose use in signup form. So for the name, we just choose this one. So that's it for creating for the user registration, the attributes. Let's go to the user login. This one is going to be simpler because you just write down the marker. For example, just say email. They said we found a similar attribute in another set. So you just check this one, and this is going to automatically add the name and the type. You just need to go to setting and use this one as login. Let's add the password. Okay, they find it, create it, and you just go to here and use it as password. So we have the set of attributes for user registration and user login. We can now create our form. So 2 forms we're going to have. One is sign in and one is sign up. Later, we're going to have another form for orders. So the name for this one is going to be sign in. The marker is going to be sign underline in. Sign underline in. Let's add this. Another one is going to be sign up. The marker is going to be sign up. Sign underline up. Let's add this. So once you add it, you just go to its setting, and you can just go to form field. The type is going to be login and registration form. And for the setup attribute, you just use, for example, this is sign in, you just use user login, and you're gonna have this set of attributes, which is email and password. It's simple as that. And then you just go to sign up, do the same things. Here, you just use user registration. Type is going to be login and registration form. So you're going to have email, password, and name for your sign up form. So now we have the forms inside OneEntry. Now we can easily create something in our application, in our Visual Studio Code, to retrieve this data, signing and sign up forms. First thing first, we need to create 2 actions in our application. Inside the auth, we're going to have 2 files. One is going to be login.ts, and the other one, login.ts, and the other one is going to be, for example, we can just say sign up.ts. So we have to create 2 set of actions. in order to log in and sign up the users. So first thing first, this is going to be a server component. So as I mentioned, it's very important to have a server action because we want to keep these things secret and the user cannot have access to these codes. Then we're going to import 4 things here. We want to import some attributes. This is going to be used for the TypeScript. We want to fetch the API client from the OneEntry. And also we want to import cookie from Next.js headers. And also we want to import redirect from Next navigation to be able to redirect the user from one page to another. The next things we want to define some interface for TypeScript when we have an error in our response. So the status code is going to be number and message is going to be a string. Then we're going to have a function here. So what this function does here, we want to get the login form data from OneEntry. So first thing first, we need to connect to our client API in our OneEntry, and we're gonna fetch the form using this method, get form data or get form by marker, and the marker is signing. Remember in OneEntry, we have added the marker sign in. So if you need to be sure, for example, this is underline, everything is very important for the marker. So the sign-in and the language you're going to add which is English. And once you get the response, you can just return the response here. And if there is an error, you can just throw an error. So this is for getting the login form data. The next function is to handle the login submit. So once we have the email and password in our application, we want to send this one to OneEntry and save it as a new user. So the same things, we just need to connect, and then we're gonna have the data, which is our email and password. Remember the marker was email and password. So make sure to always check the marker. If you, for example, go to setting here for attributes, you go to, for example, user login, you can see that we have the marker, email, and password. So we know, anything you choose here is very important here. So the marker is email and password, and the value that we get as the input of this function. So, and then we're gonna have the response here. And we use this method of to register the user. So if there's no identifier, we're gonna send an error. And once it is the login was successful, we wanna set a cookie with this age, and we call that cookie access underline token, and we set it in our browser. And also we want to have another one called refresh token, which is different. The access token is 24 hours, the refresh token is 7 days. And if there is an error, we want to catch it and show it to the user. So with the different errors, and then also we want to show the status code of the error. And once the login is successful, we want to redirect the user to the home page. So we use the redirect method here from Next navigation, and whatever you type here, for example, any page you want to go, you can just say /about or anything. After the redirect, you go there. Let's do the same things for the signup.ts. So first we need to define it as a server. So this is a server action. So we just use server. Then we're going to import some like a TypeScript from the OneEntry and also fetch data. And also remember, we need to add some TypeScript for the sign up data as well. So these are the imports. And first, let's create a function to get the sign up form data. Remember, we had this form data in OneEntry. We need to get that information. We can do that by using this method, get form data by marker. And the marker we have used in OneEntry was sign underline up, which we are using here. And also we get the response. And if there is an error, we catch the error. The next function we want to add is this function, which is called handle sign up submit. So in this submission is a bit different from the login. In the login, we only had email and password. Here we want to register the user. So we have email, password, and name. So we want to try to connect to our instance, the API client, and we set it and send this data. So remember, we had the marker, email, and password, and also we have the name as well here. Some other things we need to add as a default. Otherwise, we're gonna get an error, like if phone and SMS, but it's not important. We're not using it for our application, but we need to add it as a default here. Then we can use this method, sign up. We pass the email and we can sign up the user. If there is an error, we're going to catch the error. Otherwise, we're going to return this value. So that was it for creating the actions for login and sign up. So now we can use these two to sign up and logging the user. But first we need to go to our authentication page and just add these things here. We need to get the information data from the form and other things. Here we need to some update here to update our authentication page. So here I want to import use effect and form event as well. We need these two. First, for use effect, we need to fetch data. And before form event, we need it for adding it to our forms. Let's add some things we need to add here. For example, I want to add some imports here. So the things we need to import is, this is for the shadcn. So for the shadcn, we need to install two things, input and label. So I didn't need to add this one. So let's delete this. Okay. Because I have already, I need to, let's delete the other one. Okay, we need to install input and label. So let's go to shadcn. Let's go to input. Let's find the input. Okay, for installing input, we need to have this function. So let's copy this and paste it in our terminal. And the other things we need to install is label. So let's go to here and find label. In order to install label, we need to have this function. So this utility. So I'm going to paste it here. So now we have these two installed. Next thing we need to, let's delete this one. We don't need it. So the other things we need to import is to sign up and login. Remember, we have created two functions, get sign up form data and also handle submit. Get login form data and handle login submit. So we have four functions we are importing from these two files. And also we need to use search params to get the information from our browser. If you look at this sign in page here, we want to get the information, for example, in the final version, we want to get this type, login or sign up. So in order to get this one, we need to have use search params. Also, we need to install another package from shadcn called Sooner to have a toast notification. So let's go back to shadcn and go to Sooner. And in order to have this, we need to install it first. And also we need to add it to our layout.tsx file. So in order to install it, we just, we didn't install it completely, that one. We just say force. Okay. We have installed label. Now we need to install Sooner. So Sooner is installed. Now we need to add it in our layout.tsx. Or we can do it later. Probably we don't need it for now. Just we just install it now. And also we have everything else here. Let's just add two TypeScript here. First is for sign up form data, which includes email, password, and name. All of them are strings. And also the email and password for the login form data. So here inside the function, I want to add some other things here. Some of them are hooks. Some of them are just initializing our functions. For example, we need to initialize the search params by calling the use search params here. And also we need to create a hook for form data. We use state to create that hook. And another hook is going to be for the input values. And finally, we're going to have three more hooks. One is for is loading, because we want to have a loader for our application and page, and also for is submitting. So when we click on submit button, we're going to activate this is submitting. So the person is going to not be able to press the button again. So this is going to prevent some error. And also we have a hook for error to show the errors to the user. So first thing first, we want to add a use effect here in order to get the type from the URL. Remember I said the type in the URL, we can use search params to get that type. And if the type is not login, we want to set the set is sign up to true. Otherwise, we want to set it to false. So this is going to help us to understand the page and make it sign in or sign up based on the URL. Then we're going to have another use effect here, which is going to get the information from OneEntry using the functions we have created here. So first thing first, we want to set the isLoading to true. So the page is going to be in the loading mode. And also we set the error to null. And then we're going to try to fetch the data. If the isSignin is true, we want to fetch data for isSignup is true. We're going to fetch data for signup and get the form data for the signup. Otherwise, we want to get it for the signing page. And once we do it, we want to set the form data, the hook that we have added at the top, to this data that we get from this fetching. Otherwise, we want to get an error. And finally, we want to set the loading to false. So also, we want to create a function for handling the changes in our form. So this function is going to get the information from the form, including the name and the value based on the e.target in that form, and set the input values to this new information. And we're gonna keep the previous value and add the new one here. So the name, for example, if the name is email or password or the name, so 3 forms data we have, it's going to be here, and the value is going to be there as well. So this function is going to help us to handle the changes in the form. And finally, we're gonna have a function here for handling the submission of the form. Let's go up. So we're gonna create this function. When we click on submit on the form, it's going to be activated. First thing first, we want to prevent the default behavior of the form, which is going to refresh the page. We don't want to refresh the page because we are using Next.js. We want to keep the page the same way and not refresh it. And we set the isSubmitting hook to true and also the error to null. And then we're going to have a try and catch a statement. First, in the try, we want to say if the sign up is true, we want to sign up the user. We get the information like email, password, and name. And then we use the handle sign up, submit, handle sign up, submit, which we have created here to submit the user data. So this input data, we're going to send it there and register the user. And we set the input values first to empty once we get the response. And we set the isSignup to false. And finally, we're going to toast a notification using the sonar that we have installed. We just say user has been created, and we create some, for example, message here. Please enter your credential to log in, and we create the duration of this toast notification to 5,000 milliseconds. Otherwise, we're going to set an error. Here too, in the try and catch, we just set the error as well. So if the sign up is false, we're going to register the user using the email and password and the function that we have created here, handle login submit. We send the data. If there is an error, we want to show the error. And finally, we're going to catch the error. And if there is an error, we want to show it. And if there is no error and everything is okay, we're going to set the isSubmitting to false. Also, in the toggle form that we have created before, when we toggle it, I want to set the error to null, and also want to set the input values to empty. So each time we want to have a fresh form for the users to be able to add their new data. Now that we have created all the necessary functions, we want to add it to our HTML site. Remember here, we have created that form. This was the icon to going back, and also we have the form header. After the form header, we're going to have our form and the button. I'm going to paste it here. So let's review what we have here. We just say first, if it's a loading position and isLoading is true, we want to show a loader. Loader is just an icon with the color purple, which is going to spin using this animation, animate spin. Otherwise, if the loading is false, we want to show the form. So we just say form, and we want to, when we have the form data, we want to map through it and show it for the user, which includes the label of the form and the input. All these things comes from OneEntry. For example, we want to show the marker, the title of the label, and for the input as well, we have a ID type name, and the value is going to be here. And for each input, we're going to have the onChange event listener and use that function handle input change to track the changes inside the input. And also we want to disable this input when we have isSubmitting true. The other important things I need to mention, when we have a complete the form, we can submit the form using onSubmit event listener and call the handle submit function. So that's it for our auth page. Let's test our application. We see if it's working or not. So we are getting an error, failed to load form data. Please try again. So we have this error. Let's see if we are getting an error here. So, and the reason of the error. So the real reason is resource is closed. From OneEntry, we are getting that. All right, I find the error here. I find that I made some spelling mistake here in getting the token. It's OneEntry. I just made a mistake here. So let's try again. Let's refresh the page. Okay, now we are getting our form, the email, password, and name for the sign up. And if you go to sign in, we can see that email and password. So let's try now. For example, let's try to sign up a user. I just, for example, say my name. I just want to put some email s@gmail.com. Password 123456. The name, I just say s. We just create account creation failed. Please try again. Let's see if there's an error here. Users of provided not found. Oh, okay. We need to create a user of provider. So we go to OneEntry here. I think we need to go to users. We go to authentication provider, and then we want to have that name and email. Let's check my previous project. We go to authentication provider. As you can see, email is my authentication provider. So we just say email. The type is going to be email. The marker is going to be email, like here. Let's add this and let's try again in our application. So let's try to sign up again. Define a form. Let's see the error again. So the next error is define a form. All right, I think we need to go to OneEntry. Once we choose the authenticated provider, you just click here and you need to choose a form here. So this one is going to use for sign up the user, I believe. And let's try again in our application. Let's go to here and sign up the user. Okay, this one worked. And let's go to users. As you can see, the user is already created in our OneEntry. Let's check. So this is the name, email, and the email address. Everything is here. Let's try to log in with this user. The email was s@gmail.com. Password was 123456. Okay, it was successful. This error is not important because we are using a very simple password. We got this error, but we have redirected to the home page, which means that our signing is working. Let's check our cookie here. So let's go to application and we go to cookie. You can see we have two cookies here, access token and refresh token, which is created with our application. Remember, we have created two files, retrieve refresh token and store refresh token. Using those, we could create these tokens. And until we have this token, we're gonna keep the user as login in our website. The other thing I want to test is that toast notification is not working now. So when we register a user, I want to see the toast notification here. Let's register again. For example, we just say s2@gmail.com. 123456. Name, or just say s2. We click on sign up. Okay, we don't get any toast notification. I'm sure we need to add something in our layout.jsx. So let's go to Sonar. As you can see, we need to add this toaster in our layout file. So let's go to layout.tsx here and add this one under the children. And we put this children inside a main tag. So we bring this one up here and we need to import toaster from Sonar. I think now we can test our application and see if the toaster works. So s3@gmail.com. Let's put the password and name. Let's click on sign up. Okay, we got the toast notification. User has been created. Please enter your credentials to log in. You can work with changing the size of this toaster and other things. You can check this Sonar, how to change it. As you can see, different things. We have different model of toaster. You can see here, New York. So this is not important. I just added a simple toaster to our application. So let's add this one to our GitHub repository. And this is going to be, so let's add this message, for example, add authentication forms and UI components for sign up and logging using OneEntry. And we can commit and push. In the next section, we're going to work on the Navbar of our application. So if we look at the final version, we can see in the home page, we have a navbar, including the logo, search bar, this cart icon, login and sign up icons. And when we are logged in, we want to see the user here as well. So it's very important to have a navbar in our application. And if you look at our eraser, we can see we need to create a component called navbar.tsx, and we want to add this navbar only to pages, the main pages, except the page for authentication. So the authentication is not going to have any navbar. So if you go to authentication, we don't have any navbar. So see you in the next section for adding the navbar of our application. All right, in the last section, we have completed fetching data from OneEntry and show the forms inside our authentication pages, and we will be able to sign up and sign in the users. In this section, we're going to work on the navbar. So if you look at the final version, we can see that this navbar we have here, it's completely responsive. Let me just inspect this page. As you can see, the navbar here, when you have a small page, it's just an hamburger icon, and it shows the card, login, and sign up like this. And when we have a bigger screen, like the full page, we see it like here. We see the search bar here and cards and everything else like this. So in order to create it, we need to create some actions first. So if you look at the eraser, so we have some actions for the authentication, and one of them is get user session. So let's create that function here. Inside the action in the auth file, we're gonna create a new file called get user session. So we want to know that user is authenticated or not. Let me just put the code here and explain it to you. So first thing first, it's going to be a server action. As I mentioned before, it's very important to have a server function for our functionality to protect it from the users that are using our website. Then we're going to have the API client from OneEntry and also the cookie from Next. Then we have some TypeScript for error here. And then we're going to have a function to be able to get the user session. So we're going to initialize the API client, get our access token from the browser. As you can see, cookie.get, and the name of the token is access underline token. If there is no token, we're going to return null. Otherwise, we want to get the current user. So the current user is going to be, we can get it from using this method, and we just say get user. And if there's no current user, or if there is no current user ID, we're going to send an error. Otherwise, we're going to return the user. So the user is going to be the email, the name of the user. So we can show it in our navbar and use it in our application. Otherwise, if there is an error, we want to throw that error and return undefined. The next function we need to create inside our auth is to log out the user. So we were able to log in, sign up the user, but when we press on log out, we want to be able to log out the user. We just create a function inside a file called logout.ts. And here, let me just insert the code. So it's very similar. First, we import the necessary things from OneEntry and we get a cookie. Also, we need to have a TypeScript type for handling the errors. Then we want to create a function called logout action. So the cookie store, we want to get the cookie. We want to get the cookie and completely delete the cookie when we want to log out the user. So we just initialize the cookie. We can get the refresh token, and also we can get the access token here. And if there is no refresh token or access token, we can say you are not currently logged in. Otherwise, if we have the refresh token and the access token, we can just log out the user. So we use the method called logout from OneEntry. We just send the user email, and we just said based on the email. Remember that our provider is called email, and we just send the refresh token, and then this is going to log out the user. And we need to handle the errors here. If it's not Boolean, we're gonna send a message as an error. And the other things we need to do is to delete the refresh token the access token and also the user identifier from the cookie of the browser. So they completely delete the information from the browser. So the person is completely logged out. So, and the other things, if just in case, we can just set the cookie expiry date to 0 as well to be sure that completely the cookie is expired and doesn't exist. And we can return a message, logout successful. Otherwise, if there is an error, we can console log the error using the cache method. We get the error and console log it here using this message, and we can throw the error here. So now we need to create the navbar component. So if you look at the eraser, we have to create a component called navbar.tsx, and we add this navbar.tsx inside the main folder, and we want to add it inside the layout.ts. In this case, we can have that layout, we can have that navbar inside all the pages except this authentication. So we don't want to have a navbar inside the authentication page, but we wanted to have it in all the other pages. So let's create a component. So inside the components folder, let's just close this one. We go to components, and here I want to create a new component called navbar.tsx. Let's for now just create a React functional component, and then I want to add it inside the layout file, but I don't want to add it inside this layout, which is for both the authentication and the main page. I want to add it inside the main folder. So let's create a new layout file. We can just say layout.tsx here. Let me just put the code here. So we just import the file that navbar I have created here. And let's we create the layout here. And the layout is going to have the navbar at the top, and the rest of the page is going to be here. We just say children. We get the children here and put it inside this. So children is actually the rest of the page. So now if you look at our website and we go to homepage, as you can see, we have a navbar at the top in the homepage. So if you have another page, for example, let's say, for example, about, as we don't have any other page for now, we cannot do it, but any page we create inside the main folder is going to have that navbar. So let's complete the navbar component. So let's go to navbar.tsx. Let me just grab the code and paste it here, and I explain to you line by line. So first thing first, this navbar is a client-side component because we are using the hooks like useState, useEffect, and etc. So we're going to import them from React, and also we have link in order to be able to go from one page to another. We're going to use shadcn button and input, and also we have imported some icons from Lucid React like shopping cart, user menu X, and logout. And also we want to have some drop-down menu. So in order to have the drop-down menu, we need to install this package from shadcn. So we go to shadcn and we search for drop-down menu. It should be around here. Okay, it's drop-down menu, and we can just install it by using this command. Let me just copy this, go to our terminal. Let's create the terminal and paste it here. So now we have that drop-down menu. So once we install it, this error should go away. Let me just, okay, now we don't have this error. Now we need to install another package from shadcn, which is called avatar, for showing the user image. So let's go to shadcn and search for avatar. And here we're going to grab this code and paste it inside this terminal to be able to install avatar. Okay, so now let's just try again. Okay, now we don't have that error. And the other things, as we created the get user session, we can get the user data using the function, and also we can log out the user using the logout.ts file that we have created. Then we have user router hook from Next navigation to be able to navigate the user from one page to another. And this is coming from OneEntry, which is defining the type of the user. So we're going to have this component. The first thing inside this component is a hook. We want to be sure that the page is for mobile or the normal case. As I mentioned before, in the mobile way, when we have a smaller screen, we have a drop-down menu, but in a bigger screen, we have a normal navbar. So we have this we have this hook called is mobile menu open. So in the initial value is false, but we can just make this one true or false. Then we have the search query, which is for the search bar in the navbar. We can track the changes inside the search bar using this hook. And also we want to have the hook for the user. So when we grab the code, the user using get user session, we can save it inside this hook. Then we have another hook called is loading. So when the page is already, when we come to the page, this is true. And when this is completely loaded and we got the information from the user, we want to set this one to false. And also we have mobile menu ref. We use the use ref hook from React to be able to have this menu reference. Then we want to initialize the router. We just say router is equal to use router. We call this function to initialize the router. And then first thing first, we want to get the user. We want to be sure that user exists or signed in. And based on that, we want to have the navbar. We want to show the buttons like sign in or sign up, or use the avatar to show the image of the user. So we create a function called fetch user, and we're going to call it here. This one is going to set the is loading to true, and we're going to get the data using this use and save it inside the user data. If the user data exists, we want to set the user to this user data. And after that, we're going to set the is loading to false. So the loading is going to stop. Otherwise, we're going to catch the error, set the user to null, and set the is loading to false as well. So now we have the user. We want to create another user flag to be able to know that a page is for mobile or for the normal screen. So, and also when we click outside the menu, we want to close the menu inside the mobile. So this is for that. So we're going to have an event listener. When we click outside the menu, we want to close the menu. So we're going to have that event. And based on that, we want to set the is mobile menu open to false if we click outside that. Okay. So that event listener, as I mentioned, is a mouse down, and we're going to return that event. So it's a very simple JavaScript method we have used in this use effect to be able to track the clicks outside the menu. And we have another function called handle logout. So when we click on the logout button, we want to call that function that we have created here. If it's successful, we want to redirect the user to the home page. And also we want to set the user to null. And also we want to set the is mobile menu open to false as well, which is going to close the mobile menu on logout. The next function we want to create is for the search bar. So whatever is inside the search bar, the search query we write down, we want to use that one to navigate the user to this page, /search term, the search query. We're going to use this, create this page later, but for now we just, we want to redirect the user using this method. Okay. And finally, we want to have a function for handling the click on the menu item, which is going to set the is mobile menu open hook to false, which is going to close the mobile menu on item click. Okay, so that was it for the functions and hooks. Now we have our menu here in the JSX bar. So we have a navbar component, and first thing first, I want to have the logo, which is just this name, Sahan Shop, and just the color is like this. You can see it in the final version. The color starts from purple to red. So it's just the design. It's not very important. So you can just have these class names to have this design. After that, we're going to have a form and the input for our search function here. So, and when we type something inside this input, we're going to track the changes using this onChange event listener. And we're going to change the search query here. And once we submit the form, we're going to call the function called handle search. And finally, we're going to have a button for our shopping cart, which is here. And this is just a button. And when we click on it, we're going to be redirected to this page, /cart. The most important part of the navbar is this section. So we have login and sign up. So let me just log in. I'll show you here. When we log in, I want to use one of my accounts here. So when you're logged in, instead of seeing sign in and sign up buttons, you see an avatar here with the initial name of the user. For example, for me is S. And once we click on this avatar, we see the name of the user, the email, and we have a menu. We have the profile, the orders, and the logout button. So when we click on the profile, we go to profile page. And here, if you click on orders, we go to the orders page. So in this case, we want to be sure from here. If the page is loading, we want to wait until we are sure that the data from the user is available. When it's available, when it's not available, when it's loading, we want to just show an avatar. As you can see here, if I refresh, when it's loading, it's just showing under the line here. Just pay attention to that one. It's just a line. But after the loading is completed, we see the avatar. And when its loading is completed, and if we have the user, we want to see the drop-down menu. And this we want to create this drop-down menu with the shadcn. So we're going to cover everything with drop-down menu and drop-down menu trigger. And we're going to have a button. And then we want to have that avatar. But the image of the avatar is coming from the user data. So we can get it from user.form data. And we're going to use the value of that inside this form data. And after that, we're going to have another, when we click on this one, we're going to have a content in our avatar. As you can see from here, we have the user name. If you remember, when we click on it, here. When we click on this one, we see the username, email, and then we're going to have this menu. So we have the user name, the marker is name. Then we have the user identifier, which is the email. Then we have the menu, which is profile. When we click on it, we go to /profile, and then we have the orders. We go to the /orders. And also we have the logout at the end. So when we click on the logout, we're going to call if that function we have created inside this file called handle logout. When we call that file, this is going to sign out the user. And when there is no user, we want to see, for example, if you log out here, we want to see the two buttons, login and sign up. So if there is no user and the is loading is false, we want to see the two buttons. One is login, which redirect the user to /auth type login, and then we have another one, sign up, which is going to redirect the user into this address /auth type sign up. And finally, we're gonna have that button for the mobile size. In the mobile size is a bit different. If the mobile we have a mobile size, we're gonna have two icons, X icon or the menu icon. So I've shown you before, we have this is the menu icon and this is the X icon. So based on the value of the is mobile menu open, we're gonna have the X or the menu icon. And then if the mobile menu is open, so in this way we wanna create this place. First we wanna have the form, which is here, this form. With the input, everything is similar, but it's in a mobile size. Then we have this cart here, which is going to redirect the user to the /cart. Then we want to have, if we log in, we're going to have the avatar and showing the user. We want to see the name and the email of the user. But, and if the user is logged in, we want to see a menu for going to the profile and see the orders and to be able to log out. Otherwise, if the person is not logged in, we want to see the login and sign up, as you can see here, which is going to redirect the user to this address and this address. So it's very similar to each other, but the mobile and the normal one is separated. All right, that was it for the menu. Let's check our website. As you can see, now we have the menu and the user is already logged in. So the user is logged in is s@gmail.com. And if we log out, as you can see, we see the login and sign up. And if you refresh the page, you see that loader. Let's log in the user, s@gmail.com, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when we log in, as you can see, now we see the avatar and the menu like this. And let's check this one for the mobile. As you can see, we have this menu, see the name, the email, the card, your profile, orders, and log out. So it's completely mobile friendly and easy to navigate. So that was it for the Navbar section. Let's add this one to the GitHub. So let's add everything here and create a message for that, which is going to be add Navbar component. You can just commit and push. Let's check our GitHub repository. If you refresh this page, you can see the new commit is added here. And if you want to grab the code, you can just come here and get the code for each file. All right, that's it. In the next section, we're going to implement catalog and product fetching with UI components for the homepage. So we want to create the homepage, as you can see here, and we want to just implement everything. We create the products inside OneEntry, fetch them, and show them inside the homepage. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the Navbar component and created our responsive Navbar. In this section, we're going to work on the home page, and then we want to make it like the final version. As you can see, we have a banner here, and then we have the products. So there are many things we need to do. The first thing is essential is to add our product in our OneEntry. If you look at my previous project, we can see that we have this catalog is the product section. I have 3 products, goggles, trunks, and swimming shoes. And each of them, I have like 4 material. So this one is 4, and also we have the shoes. So it's very simple to create a product in OneEntry. So let me just remove this. So in order to add a product, as you can see, when we click on add, we need to add the header, and then we need to go to the attribute, and we choose a set of attributes. So before creating a catalog, we need to create a set of attributes, which is inside the settings section. Okay. And also we need to create a page for that product as well. And we want to choose the type of the page to be catalog page. So let's go to our new project. We go to pages. I want to create a new page. The type is going to be catalog, and the title, I just, for example, say shoe or shoes. The URL is going to be shoes. The name is going to be shoes. So once we choose that, this is going to be created. Let me see if we need to add something else. Okay, set of attributes. Let's see if we add it here. So the goggles, yeah, doesn't have anything. So now we have created this page, and let's go to the catalog. As you can see, we have this page name. Before adding any product, we need to add a set of attributes. So if you look at here and we go to setting, we can go to attributes. As you can see, we have a product set for the attribute. This is a set of attributes. The marker is product. And if you go to setting, we can see we have 5 attributes here: title, price, description, currency, and image. So we need to add the same things inside our project. We go to setting, attributes. Let's create a new one. I just say, for example, product attribute or product set. Mark is going to be product. Product. And the type is going to be for products. And we just say create. And we go inside the setting, and we're going to add the attributes here. Let me just grab the attributes from here. This is the marker. Let's get the name first. Title. And the marker, for example, I choose p_title. The type is going to be string. Let's create that. As you can see here, let's see the setting. That's fine. The next one is price. So we have the price. The marker, I choose p_price. The type is going to be, for the price, is integer. So it's going to accept the number. And let's create that. We need to go to the setting of the price and choose here contains price. And then the next one is going to be description. The marker is going to be p_description. The type is going to be text. We create that. The next one is currency. Currency here. The marker is going to be p_currency. The type is going to be string. And here we need to go to the setting and choose contains currency. And finally, we're going to have image. The marker is going to be p_image, and the type is going to be, I think we have something for image. Yeah, image. We create this one. So that's our attributes. Now, if we go to the catalog and we go to and add a new shoe, for example, I just say new stylish, for example, shoes, shoe, and we go to attribute. We choose a set of attributes from the product set. As you can see, we have the title. For example, I just say new stylish shoe. Price, for example, $200. Description, we just add some description. For example, description for a shoe. Let me just grab some text from our website. These shoes, for example. Copy this, insert as a text. And the currency, we can just say US dollar. And then we can just upload the image. So I want to just choose, for example, this picture. Any picture is fine, you can choose. If this is going to be uploaded. So now you have your first product. If you go back, you can see in the shoe section, we have this shoe with the title, price, and everything else. Now our job is to fetch the data and get this data from the OneEntry and show it in our website. So if you go to Eraser, we can see we need to create two more components for our application. One is the product catalog and one is the product card. What I mean by them is here, as you can see from the homepage, each product has a card. This is product card. And all this thing is the product catalog. So this catalog with the name of the catalog and this product. So we're going to have two components. One is this component and one is the card component. So we're going to have these two components here. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code and we go to components and create our components. The first one is going to be product card.tsx. Let me just put the code here and explain it. Okay. So as you can see, we just need to import the link for navigating from one page to another. Then we have the shopping cart for here. As you can see, we have an icon shopping cart. Then we have a button, this button. So we get the product data inside this component and then we're going to show it here. First, we want to show the image. As you can see here, this is the image. So as you can see, when we hover over it, we're going to have a zoom effect, which I added, I think, this transition transform. And we're going to increase the scale 105%. And once we get the information from the product, we can just fill up the source of the image and the alternative tag. So we're going to show the image here. After the image, we're going to have this title. As you can see, the title is inside the product attribute values. And remember the P underline title inside OneEntry, we have the attribute here, P underline title. So everything is like this. So P underline title with for example, image is P underline image. Then we're going to have our description. As you can see from the final version, we have this description and then we're going to have the price. So the price is going to be here, P underline price. And finally, we're going to have that button, this button, which includes the icon, shopping cart icon, and the text add to cart. And we have added some styling to this cart. So the next component, as I mentioned inside the Eraser, is this component, product catalog.tsx. So we're going to create this component. Let's just create it. Let me grab the code. So this is very simple. As I mentioned before, we have here, this is the product card. And this is the product catalog.tsx. So it includes the title, which is here, the title. And then we're going to have all the cards inside that. In order to define the product, we need to define its type. So we need to create a file called product for getting the products here. So here inside it, as you can see, we need to create a folder called types inside the root of our application. And then we're going to have that product type, which is going to be product.d.ts. Let's create that. Let's go to the root of our application. I'm going to create a folder called types. And then inside that, we're going to have this file, products.ts. So the code is going to be this one. We just define the type of the product, which is for the ID, title, price, and etc. So now we don't have any error inside our product catalog.tsx. So now let's update our home page. Inside the main, the page.tsx, now we only have this text, home page. So let me just add the code here and explain it. Okay, we just add here. So first we import the necessary things like button, the icon, the hooks from React, like use effect and user state. the things we need to create is a function to get the catalog of the product. So we need to create another server action, which is called get catalog with products to be able to get it. So we go to actions. Let me just grab this text. We go to actions. I want to create a new file, and this is going to be, so catalog is a folder and get catalog with products.ts. So this is going to create a folder called catalog, and this is the file here, and this is going to be the code. So first thing first, we need to import some types from OneEntry and also the API client. Then also we want to get the catalog. We're going to create this function later. So I'm going to explain the code first. So we're going to create a function called get catalog with products. First, we initialize the OneEntry, and we're going to set a variable empty called catalog with products. And also we want to define the catalogs here. We're going to use the get catalogs function to get it. So we're going to create another file here called get catalogs. So I'm going to grab this, and we create another file called getcatalog.ts. Let's complete this one first, and then we go back to another file. So let's paste the code here. As you can see, we're going to get the information imported from the OneEntry, the type, and also API client. We're going to create a function called getCatalog. We're going to use fetch API client to initialize the app client, and then we want to get the pages data. Remember, we have created some pages here inside pages. Now we have shoes pages. So we're going to get the information, all these pages, and then we want to just keep the pages with the catalog category. Remember, if each of them has the type. The type for this one is catalog page. So we want to have only that one here. And then we're going to return all these pages for this function. And then we're going to use this function here. So now let me just fix this one. Now we don't have error here. And we're going to have this function get catalog with products, and we're going to use a method called get products by page ID. And we want to set the page, which is catalog.id. We're going to have that ID and get that page. And once we do it, we're going to return it inside the catalog with products. And we can use it inside the main page, which is our home page. So this is the input. And also we have the product catalog, the component that we have created. And also we want to create another file for the type of the catalog. Let's create that one real quick. So we have two types. We have created the product. Now we need to create the one for the catalog. So let me just grab this name, and inside the types folder here, I'm going to create another file called catalog.d.ts. So I'm going to bring the code here. As you can see, it's just the TypeScript. It's just the ID, title, and item. We're going to set their types. So now we have completed these things. Let me just fix this one, and we should be fine now. Okay, catalog types. I should be okay now. Okay, now there's no error here. So our homepage, now we're going to have two set of hooks here. One is for products, one is for loading. So we want to say if the loading is true as a default, and we're going to set it to be false once we have the data in our homepage. So we're going to use effect to get the data. We're going to use this function that we have created inside here, get catalog with products. And once the information came, we want to set the loading to false. So now we have the information. First thing first, in the homepage, we have our banner at the top, which is saying, as you can see here, welcome to our store. This text, and then we have a paragraph, which is here. Also, we have an image, as you can see, a background image here. And we have a button saying shop now, this button. And it's designed like the other buttons. You can just grab this Tailwind CSS and have the same effect as me. Then we want to say if it's loading, show the loader. As you can see, it's just a border with a color and it's spinning. For example, if I refresh the page, you can see that loader. So when it's loading, we see that loader. Otherwise, we want to see the products. We're going to map through the products and show it using the product catalog component that we have created. We're going to pass the information like the key, title, and products. So each map is going to have a key. It's very important, otherwise you're gonna get an error. So we're gonna send the title and products and receive it there and show it in our component. So let me just see if we're seeing that. Let's refresh the page. Okay, you can see that we have the banner, and also we have this product catalog, which is shoes, and then we have that product that we have created, that shoe, new stylish shoe, the title. This is the button, and also we have the price here. Let's add another product. Let me just create, we can create another category as well. For example, I want to create a new page. This is a catalog page. The title, for example, I just say bags. The URL is going to be bags, and the name bags. That's it. And then we're going to have the catalog. Let's close this shoes. Now we have the bag. Let's add a new bag. For example, we just say the best bag of our shop, something like that. I don't know. So we just go to attributes and just choose the set of attribute product. The title is going to be the same. Price, for example, $3,000. And the description, we just say a new product from our store, something like that. And then we just say US dollar for the currency. I just want to add some image. Let's add some bag image like this one. And now if you go to our website and refresh the page, we should see another category, the bag. This image is not that good, but we have this title, description, and the price, and everything is correct. Let's change the image. Let me choose another image. I want an image with without any background, like this one. And let's add more description. For example, I just want to copy this. Okay, and let's check our website again. As you can see, it's very easy to update your product, and you can see this bag and the shoe here. So any products you add, the category comes here, the products comes next to each other. For example, if I add another bag here, it's very simple. For example, we just say 2, and this one is going to be product set. Just say 2, price, for example, $1,000. I don't know why it goes that way. Let's just add the description, same description, and currency US dollar. Let's add the image. Okay, this one is okay. So now let's go back to our website and refresh the page. We should see 2 bags here next to each other. It's very easy to modify your website and everything else. As you can see, it's very simple. So that's it for our homepage. Let's add this one to the GitHub. So this is going to be, for example, we just say implement catalog and product fetching with UI components for the homepage. And then we can just commit and push. So in the next section, we want to create this functionality. If we click on this one, as you can see, we have it in our cart. So we're going to have this cart functionality and how to add it using a state management, a global state management called Zustand. So we're going to install Zustand, and using Zustand, we're going to have a store and add the cart functionality. So see you in the next section. All right, welcome back. In the last session, we have completed our homepage. In this section, we're going to add the add to cart functionality using Zustand, the store, and integrate it with our UI components. If you check the final version and we test it here, you can see if anywhere, for example, if we are in the homepage, we want to add this, for example, this product, Splash Zone. Once we click it, we see this toaster, and then if we go to the cart, we see that product here. We can increase the number of product, and here we can see that the price is updating, and we have also calculated the tax. We can easily remove any products from here, and we see the update here, decrease, increase the price. And so first thing first, we want to create this page, and in order to have access, for example, I want to add the product from here, also from the page of the product. I want to add the product from here, anywhere. I want to have access to this cart. So this cart cannot be a normal state. Like we cannot use a state to control the amount of products in a cart. We need to have something called global state management. And in this video, we're going to use the Zustand to easily store and record our piece of states and track them inside the browser of the project. So what we want to do here, we search for Zustand, and we go to their website. It's very simple to install it. So this is for the JavaScript, and we can have it for TypeScript. Let's go to documentation here. So what we need to do is to install Zustand. Let's copy this command and paste it in our Visual Studio Code inside the terminal. And the way we use it is to, first we need to create a store. A store is kind of place to save our stuff. So, and then what we want to do is we're going to create the store using the method called create from Zustand. So let's install it, and then I'm going to show you how to create that in our project. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code. So first thing first, I want to show you in the eraser. So we're going to have another folder called stores inside the root of our directory. So inside the root directory, we're going to have a folder called stores, and inside that, we're going to have a file called cardstore.ts. So let's create that one in our project. So I'm going to create a new folder called stores and then a file called cardstore.ts. So the way that Zustand works is like this. Let's paste the code. So we're going to use a method called create to create this store from Zustand. We have installed it already. And then we're going to use persist from Zustand. Persist is the way to save it in our local storage in the browser. So in order to, for example, our final version, you can see that if we just open the application and we go to local storage, you can see we have a storage called cart storage, and it is saved by Zustand. So we're gonna have, for example, all these 4 products here. If I do some changes, we can see we are updating this local storage. So by refreshing the page, you still have the same cart because you have already saved the information of these products inside the local storage. So we're gonna have this persist to do it. Then we have to find the types of the cart, including the ID, name, price, quantity, and image. Finally, we're gonna define the Zustand store interface. This is kind of related to TypeScript as well. We just want to know each of them, what type they have. And finally, we're gonna create our store, and we're gonna call that cart store. So we create a constant called use cart store, and we're gonna use create from Zustand to create it, and we're gonna use persist to save it in our local storage. So what we want to do here, we get the set and get. First, we set the cart to be empty, and then if this function is triggered, we want to save it to that cart. So we're going to have the existing item, and based on the existing item, we want to add the new item to the existing ones. Otherwise, we want to set it in a different way. If we don't have an existing one, we want to set it from scratch. And also, we need to update the quantity. So we already added to the cart, but sometimes, as I shown here, we need to update the quantity. For example, we want to decrease the amount or increase it. So we just get the number, the quantity, and the ID of the product, and then we're going to update it using this statement. In some cases, we need to remove the item because we need to use this button. When you click on it, you completely remove that cart from that product from the cart. So, and just in case, if you want to completely clear the cart, you can use this function. And finally, we're gonna set the name of the local storage. As I mentioned here, this key is a cart storage. So this is the cart storage name. So this was for the cart store.ts. We have created that successfully. Now we want to add this functionality to this cart. So if you look at our website, you can see now if you click here, nothing happens. So we want to go to the post cart and add that functionality here. So let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. We go to the components and product cart. we need to add some imports at the top. So we need to import the use card that we have created. We need to import some products TypeScript that we have created before. And also we want to import toast from Sonar to have a toast notification as well. Now let's add that function that I have here. So here after this, before return, I'm going to add that function. The function is called handle add to cart. And also we want to make a piece of state called add to cart. But instead of using use state, we're using the Zustand use cart store that we have created. And let's review this function. So this function is going to have add to cart. We want to add to cart these things: the ID of the product, the name, price, quantity, and the image. I'm getting some TypeScript error here. Let's fix this one first. Let's go to product.d.ts that we have created before. I think it was in the types here. Yeah, we're missing the price here. So I'm going to add the price here. So now we don't get that TypeScript error. So we have this information. We want to add them to this function. And finally, we want to toast a notification saying add to cart. And then we're going to say the name of the product has been added to the cart. The duration is 5 seconds. Now we want to call this function in the button here, add to cart button. So what we want to do here is to add that an on-click event listener, and then we're going to call that handle add to cart function, and we're going to pass the product that we are clicking. So if I click on this add to cart, it's going to work. So let's open the application here now. We go to local storage. Let's clear the storage first. So I want to add this one. So let's refresh the page first. Let's add to the cart. Okay, now it's added to our local storage. Let's add the other one as well. So now if you open this one, we can see the states, and the cart has two products, the first one and the second one. We can see the ID, the image, name, price, and quantity. So, and then later when we have the ability to see it inside the cart, we want to be able to increase or decrease the quantity inside the cart as well. So the first step was successful. Now we want to update the navbar. So we go to navbar. Let's go to components, navbar.tsx. The first thing first, I want to import that. Let's import it here at the bottom. We want to import that use cart store that we have created. Then we want to create a piece of state called cart items. Then we want to show the amount of carts added. So let's go down. Where is the cart? I want to search for the cart. So this is the cart link. We want to add the number of carts here. So after the shopping cart icon, I want to add that these numbers, the cart items. If it's more than 0, we want to show the number of it here. Let's see what's this error here. So they cannot find the name span. Okay, let's see. First, let's check our application, see if it's working or okay. We see the number of items now already at the top. So it's working nice. So let's add another item like this one. I should be 3 now. It's okay. So it's working. Let's see what's this TypeScript error. We can fix it here. Let's fix it with Copilot. So okay, let's accept this and let's remove this extra one here. I don't see any difference, but they don't get any error now. Okay, it's working, and we can see the number of items here. If we go to our application, and if we clear this local storage and we refresh the page, we shouldn't see any product here. Let's add another one. Now you can see now here. That's working. So now we want to create this page, the cart page, and show the carts here inside this, all the information we want to see inside the cart. If you look at the eraser, in order to create the cart page, inside the main folder, the one with the brackets, we need to add a folder called cart, and inside the cart we're going to have a file called page.js or page.jsx, and then we're going to have /cart and the cart page. So it's very simple to create the page. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Here inside the main folder, I want to create a new folder called cart and a file called page.tsx or JSX. Because we are using TypeScript, we use TSX. Let's paste the code and explain it from the top. So it's a client-side component because we need to have interaction with the page. And if you look at the final version, we can see, let's close this. Because we need to click on items, we cannot make this page in the server side. We need to create it in the client side. So it's a client-side component. And then we have imported use effect and use state from React. And also we are using the button and input from shadcn. Also, we need some icons here, like shopping cart, trash icon plus, minus, credit card, and login. So everything will be available from Lucid React package. And also, we need to import use router from Next navigation to be able to move from one place to another easily inside the browser. And also, we need the Zustand, that piece of state that we have created for the cart, because we wanted the information inside the local storage. And also, we want to know the person is logged in or not. So we get the user session as well, because in the final version, you can see now this icon says logging to checkout, because there is no signed in user, or there is no person who is using the website. If you logged in, you should see different thing inside this button, which saying proceed to checkout. So we need to have the information from the user. And also we get the TypeScript from OneEntry. Finally, we want to create the cart page. Okay. So first we initialize the router using the use router function. Then we want to have the cart items. We get it from the use cart store that we have created. We want to update the quantity. We want to remove the item. And also we want to set is loading. When the page is refreshed, we want to wait until the result comes, and then we do the interaction with the website. And also we want to save the information we are getting from the user inside this piece of state. First of all, we want to have loading. First, we want to make it, when we refresh the page first time, we want to set the loading to false after this amount of time, which is 1.5 seconds. Then we want to have a piece of state to get the user information. So the thing is, first we set the loading to true. Then we want to use the get user session function to get the user data. And then we want to, if this user data exists, we want to set it inside this piece of state called user. If everything is okay, we want to set the loading to false. Otherwise, we want to console log the error, set the users to null, and set the loading to false. And also we want to calculate the total number of items. So if you look at the final version, you see if you have, for example, 2 icons, 2 products, and we need to calculate, for example, now we have 2 products. So we want to calculate the total amount, which is here. And also we want to calculate the tax. So it's very simple. We calculate the total amount with this statement. And also we want to calculate the tax, which is 10%. We just assume it to be 10%, but it can be vary from one country to another. It depends on how and where you want to create this store. So finally, and then we're going to have our page. So we have a title, your cart, which is here. And then we want to have a loading effect. So if its loading is true, we want to see the spinner. So when it's loading, we see the spinner. Otherwise, we want to see the cart. So all the cart items, we want to map through it, loop through that, and show them one by one. So we want to show the image, which is here. We want to see the item name, which is here. The item price, which is going to be fixed by 2. So 2 zeros for the decimals here. And after that, we want to have a button for minus, which is here, minus. And we're going to have an input of number. You can increase or decrease from here or from here, it doesn't matter. So this is the input with the type of number. And finally, we have a button for the plots, which is here, this plus icon. And at the end, in order to remove the icon, we need to have a button with the trash icon to be able to remove the product from the cart. And finally, we want to have the orders summary, which is here. And subtotal, we have calculated that subtotal. We write down that one here. And also the tax, which is here. And finally, we're going to have the tax plus the subtotal, which is going to be the total amount, which is written here. At the end, we want to be sure if the user exists, we want to say proceed to checkout. Otherwise, we want to say login to checkout. So now we have the login to checkout. If we log in, so let's do it in our application. Let's see if it's working or not. So let's go to our cart. So now I'm already logged in, as you can see. Now we have the proceed to checkout. If I log out, we must see, if you go to cart, you can see login to checkout. And when we click on the login, we go to the sign in page. Let's log in with an account, s@gmail.com, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's sign in. Now, if you go to the cart, we can see that we have this icon saying proceed to checkout. Later in the video, in the next section, we're going to have the ability to check out using a Stripe. All right, that's it for this section. Let's add this one to the GitHub. The message is going to be add cart functionality with Zustand, store, and integrate with UI components. So I'm going to commit and push this one to the GitHub. In the next section, we're going to add the product search functionality and the page. If you look at the eraser, we can see that we want to create a page called /search. And in order to create this page, we want to create a folder and a file inside the root, inside the main folder. And once we search a product inside this search, for example, if I search goggle and press enter, we see the products related to goggle with this term. For example, if I say search for example, pro, we should see this one. So we only get the items with the pro name. So we want to work on this search functionality in this next section. So see in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the cart page. In this section, we're going to work on the search functionality. If you look at the eraser, now we need to create a page called /search. And we're going to create a folder called search and a file called page.js or page.ts or tsx to create this page. So let's do that inside the Visual Studio Code. I'm gonna just go to the main and we're gonna create a folder called search and a page and a file called page.tsx. Let's just review the code here. So it's very simple. It's a client-side component page because we need to have interaction. As I mentioned, we need to just have a click on it or do something. We need some user effect or user state, so you cannot have a server component. And we have imported user state and user effect from React. The only things we need to do is to create a function, a new server action to search for the products. So now we need to create another action. So let's create a file inside the catalog called searchproducts.ts. And it's going to be very simple. It's a server action. As I said before, we need to protect our codes inside the server when we are interacting with our database. First, we fetch the API client from OneEntry, and then we want to define the types of the search, which is going to be string. Then we want to create a function called searchProductsAction. We get the query as the input. We use this query to search the product using this method, searchProduct. So we have API client, which is initialized here, and then we have products, search product, we send a query, and then we're going to have the products ourselves. We're going to return that. If there is no product, we just say an empty array. So, and then we know that there is no product. If an error happens, we're going to throw an error here. And also, if we have a problem for fetching the products, we're going to throw at the end the error. So now let's go back to the search. So we have created this function, search product. So searchproducts.ts, we should get it now. Search product action. Okay, we have search product action. It should be fine. We just need to, I think, a little bit update this. Okay, now it's working. The error is gone. And then we need to get the information from the URL. If you look at the final version, we can see the URL is search term. For example, it's pro. So we want to get the URL information. So in order to get it, we're going to use search params from Next navigation. Then we want to have the product card because we want to show the product card inside the search page. And also we want to define the type of the products. First thing first, we want to set a piece of state for loading. So if there is a loading, for example, if we refresh the page, we see a spinner. So we need to have a piece of state for loading. Then we want to initialize the params to get the information from the URL. And the URL search term is going to be params.get, and then we want to get the search term, which is here. Okay. And we want to have a piece of state for all the products. So we're going to save all the information inside a piece of state after fetching it. So now we want to use a useEffect React hook to search for the product. First, we set the loading to true, and then we want to use that method that we have created, search product action, as we just pass the query and we return the data. Okay. If the data is an array, it means it's working, it's fine. We want to set the products to data. Otherwise, we want to throw an error. And the end, and then we want to set the loading to false. And anytime this URL search term, this one is different, we want to fetch the product. We want to fetch the search and get the product. So now we want to return. So first inside the page, we want to say if it's loading, show the spinner, like this one. We see the spinner if there is a loading. And if not, we want to show the products. We just get the products and map through it and show it using the product card. So let's go to our website and search something. So let's see, we only have 3 products. I want to have, for example, the new. Let's search for new and press enter. Okay, now we get the products only with the title new. So new product, new stylish shoe. So let's try something else. For example, I try to get only this shoe. So I made a typo. So let's see, show like shoe here, we get this new stylish shoe. All right, that was it for adding the search functionality. Let's add it to the GitHub. So I'm going to add all the changes and create a message for that saying add product search functionality and page. So let's commit and push this change to the GitHub. In the next section, we're going to work on the product detail page. As you can see from the final version, each product has its own unique page. So you can go inside. As you can see, we have the title, the price, the description, we have the button, we see the image here, and also we see the related products at the bottom of the page. For example, if this is a trunk, you can see all the other trunks here at the bottom. So we go back here. For example, I choose the goggle. So in this page, we see the goggle page, and we have the related product. So if someone wants to buy a product, we're going to suggest them the related products. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the search page and its functionalities. In this section, we're going to work on the page, product page, and we want to create a page that is showing the product's information and also the related products. If you look at the eraser, in order to create a dynamic page, until now, we have created only static pages. But now, in this section, we're going to create a dynamic page. So we're going to have a page like the final version, product/8, for example, the product ID. And then we choose another product, for example, this one, the ID is 19. So based on the ID, we're going to fetch the data. So this number is dynamic here. So in order to create a dynamic page in Next.js, we have a folder for the static page like product/product, and then / the ID of the product, which is we're going to create another folder with the bracket, not parentheses. So this is a parenthesis. This is going to be ignored by Next.js, but the bracket is going to be the dynamic page, and it's not going to be ignored by Next.js. And then inside that, we're going to have that page.ts of tsx, and then the final page is going to be product / the ID. So that was it for creating the page. Let's create the page here inside our Visual Studio Code. So here inside the main folder, we're going to create a folder called product, and then we're going to have a folder with the bracket product ID, and then we're going to have page.tsx. So let's grab the code here and then explain it to you. So it's a client-side component, and because we need to have some interactivity with the page, so we cannot have a server page. Then we have useState and useEffect from React, and we're going to import useRouter to be able to go from one page to another without refreshing the page. We have 2 icons, shopping cart and arrow left. We need it for this page. As you can see, we have this arrow icon, and also we need this shopping cart icon here. Then we're going to have a button from shadcn, and then we want to use that use cart store from Zustand store, because we want to click, when we click on this add to cart or here, we want to be able to go and save the product inside the cart. Now we need to create two server actions. One is to get the product's detail, and one to get the related product. Let's create them one by one. Let's create the first one, get products detail. So let's create a file inside the actions catalog. I want to create a new file called getProductDetails.ts, and the code is going to be this one. It's a server action function, so we need to protect it from the user. Then we want to get the fetch API client from OneEntry, and we're going to create a function called getProductsDetail. So we're going to initialize the API client, and we're going to use the method getProductById to get that product. So in order to get that product, we need to pass the product ID. So in this function, the input of this function is this product ID. And then if there's no the product ID, we're going to send an error. ID is required. Otherwise, we're going to get that product. And then we're going to return that product that we have fetched. And finally, if there is an error, we want to throw an error. Another function we need to create is get related products. Let's create that one as well. So we want to create a new server action called getRelatedProducts.ts, and it's going to be very similar to the other one. First, we want to set it to be a server action function to protect it from the user, and then we're going to have fetch API client from OneEntry. First, we want to initialize it, and the function that we have created, the getRelatedProducts, is going to have two inputs. One is the page ID and also the product ID. The reason for that is we don't want to show the same product here in the related products. Based on this ID, we want to remove the same product from the related products, and we're going to fetch everything except this product. So here, if there's no page ID, we're going to throw an error saying product ID is required. Otherwise, we want to get the products by page ID first. We set the page ID, we get the product. We want to just get 5 products. So we're going to limit the result to 5. And then we want to remove the same product that is there. As I mentioned, we want to remove that from the list, and we want to return the related products at the end. And if there is an error, we want to throw an error like this. So now we come back to the page. These 2 errors should be gone. Let's just fix it by just deleting the last 2 letters and type them again. The TypeScript error is going to go. And also we have imported toast from Sonner here because we want to have some toast notification when we add the product to the cart. So what we want to do here, first we want to define some piece of states for the product ID. We want to save that inside this piece of state. Then the product, related products, and also we want to have the is loading effect as well. If you look at the final version, we have the spinner as well. So we need to know the loading. And then we want to initialize the router to be able to redirect the user to another page. And we're going to have that add to cart state from the Zustand to be able to save the product to the cart. First thing first, we want to use effect to get the parameters. We want to get this product ID from the URL. So we just say, we use this method, params promise, and we get that product ID, we save it inside this piece of state. After that, we're going to have another use effect to fetch the data from the OneEntry. So we want to use the method that we have created, getProductsDetail, and we get the data here and set it inside this piece of state called product. After that, we're going to get the related products as well, and we want to set it inside this piece of state called related products. Finally, if there is an error, we want to show it and set the loading to false. And another function that we have already created before, we want to use here, which is handle add to cart. So we want to add to cart the information related to the product, like ID, name, price, and quantity, and also the image of the product. And after that, we want to send a toast notification saying that the cart is added, and we want to show this toast notification for 5 seconds. Finally, we want to show if there is a loading effect, we want to show the spinner. Like here, we want to show the spinner if there is a loading. Otherwise, we want to first see that the back icon here, this back icon, when we click on it, we can go to the previous page by just using the router.back. And then we want to see the product detail. First, we want to have the image, like here, we want to have the image like this one. Then we want to have the title of the product, which is here. Next, we want to see the price. Under the title, we want to see the price. Then we want to have the description, which is here. And finally, we want to have a button to add to cart. So this one, if we press on it, is going to trigger a function called handle add to cart, and this product is going to be added to the cart as well. Finally, we want to show the related products. So we're gonna loop through to the related products. First, we want to say if the length is more than 0, we want to show the related products using that product catalog component that we have created before. So we want to send the title, which is a related product, and the products itself, which is going to be here. And the product is already fixed for us. For example, we have this product at the top, and the related products doesn't include this product. So that's it for, let's check our final version. We see it's working or not. Let's go to this product. As you can see, we see the product here, but we don't see any related products. Maybe we don't have any related products because we only have one shoe. Let's choose this bag. Because we have two bags, we're gonna have a related products at the bottom. So now let's clear the cart and then come back. I want to add this one to the cart. So we have one added, and I want to add this one as well. So 2 product is added to the cart. So its cart functionality is working as well. Let's see if we go back. Okay, it's going back to the previous page. So it's working fine. All right, that was it for creating the product details page and its related products. Let's add this one to the GitHub. Let's add all the changes and create a message. The message would be add product detail page with fetching functionality for product and related products. Let's commit and push this one to the GitHub. In the next section, we're going to work on creating the order. So if you look at the final version, when we have this cart, and if we are logged in, we want to go to the checkout section. We go to the Stripe and pay the product. And if it's successful, we're going to come back and see a success page. If it's not, we're going to see a decline page. So we're going to work on that one in the next section. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the page product and the related products here. And the only things we need to do in our application is to, when we have a user, we want to proceed to checkout. When we click on it, we want to be redirected to the Stripe, and we pay these products, and the payment is going to be received by OneEntry and be added as an order in our application. So first thing first, I want to show you inside OneEntry. If we look at my project, inside the form section, I have a form called order form with this marker. Also, inside the orders, I have an order called order with the marker orders, and this order is related to that form. For example, if you go to the setting, you can see that the form, so here we see the setting, we have order form, and also we have selected payment accounts Stripe. And then for the order statuses, we're gonna have 4 status. For example, processing, delivered, shipped, and canceled. So we're gonna add those in our application, and also inside the payments, we're gonna have some setting for our success URL and cancel URL. And we wanna connect our Stripe accounts to our payment as well. So let's do all these things inside our projects. So first thing first, let's complete the payment section. So we go to the setting. So for the success URL, our application, the localhost 3000, and then orders/success. We want to do the same things for the cancel page. So, and also we want to connect a Stripe to our application. Let's go to accounts here. We want to create a Stripe here. Let's go to accounts, edit the payment. We just say Stripe. The type is going to be Stripe. The marker is going to be Stripe _ payment. Let's add this one. And then we're gonna, let's go inside. So everything is fine here. We go to setting. We have our success URL. This one is not added. So let's add it again. So this one, I don't know why it's not saving. Let's refresh the page. Let's try again. And then here we're going to connect our Stripe. Let's click on connect Stripe. So this one is going to redirect us to the Stripe page, the connect page, and this everything else will be handled with Stripe. Let's wait for that. I'm gonna just pause the video, put my Stripe email and everything else, and I'll show you later. All right, now I have done the Stripe section. As you can see, now the Stripe is connected to my application. So now let's go to accounts. Now we have the Stripe payment, its status, everything is fine. Let's go to forms and create a new form. Let's close this, and then here we go to form. The form we need to create is the order form. So this is going to be with the name order form, and the marker is going to be order underline form. Let's add this one. Let's go to the setting here. The title and the marker is here. Then we have the form field. This is going to be an order form. Then we want to have a setup attribute. We want to use the user login because we need to verify the user by its email. So we just add that one. So let's go to the setting. So everything else will be untouched and will be the same. So the form is created. Let's go to orders and create a new order. So the orders is going to be just the name orders, and the type is going to be order, and marker is going to be orders. Let's add this one. We go to the setting, and here we wanna, here is just something. We go to the setting. We choose a form that we have created, order form. And also we have added the Stripe account. We add it here. And then for the order statuses, we go to here. As you can see, we have 4 statuses. One is processing. Let's add this one. So processing, the marker is going to be processing with the lowercase. And this processing is going to be the default status of our orders. The next one is going to be delivered. The marker is going to be delivered. The third one is shipped. And the last one is going to be canceled. Okay, we have created the order statuses. I don't think anything else left. We can try and do it later. So now we want to, when we click on this button, we want to be redirected to the Stripe and pay this stuff. So we need to add it to our application. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. The first thing we need to do is to create an action, but this is going to be an action. If you look at the eraser, we have one action left for our application, which is orders action. So now we want to create a new folder inside the actions folder. The folder is going to be orders, and the file is going to be create-orders.ts. For the files, we need to have this code. So this is going to be a server action function because we want it to be protected from the users. And also first we want to import fetch API client from OneEntry. We want to have the cookies from Next headers because we want to save a cookie for our payment session in the browser. And also we have the order data, which is coming from OneEntry. We create a function called createOrder. First, we initialize the API client. If there's no API client, we want to throw an error saying unable to retrieve API instance. Then, if there is an API client, we want to have an access token. We want to get the access token from the browser. Remember, we had 2 access tokens, access token and refresh token. We want to get that. And if there's no access token, we want to send an error saying missing access token. Then we want to set an access token and create the order for our products that is inside the cart. So we pass these orders with the order data. And if there's no created order ID, we want to send an error. Otherwise, we want to create the payment session by this method, set access token and create session method. Once the payment session is created, we want to check, be sure that we have a payment URL. Otherwise, we want to send an error saying failed to generate payment session URL. Otherwise, we want to return that payment URL. And finally, if there is an error, we want to send the errors by these lines of codes. Now we want to create 2 pages. If you look at the eraser, we need to create two pages inside the main root folder. One is, both of them are related to the orders, and one is the cancel page, one is the success page. So we're going to have two folders. One is cancel. Inside the cancel, we're going to have the page orders/cancel. And inside the success, we're going to have orders/success. So let's create those first. Let's go to our app main. We create a folder called orders. Then we want to have a folder called success. And we're going to have a file page.tsx. So this is going to be a client-side component. And because we want to have some interactivity, we want to have an button to it to go back to the previous page. So we're going to have a check icon from Lucid React, a button from shadcn, and also we want to use link to go from one page to another. So this is the page, order success. It's very simple. We're going to have a title, order successful, and a paragraph, your order has been placed and is being processed. And finally, we thank the user for the purchase, and we create a button for that saying continue shopping. Let's check our application now. If you go to orders/success, we see this page saying order successful, your order has been placed and being processed, and also we're going to thank the user. And finally, we're going to have a button here. When we click on it, we go to the home page. That's it. So let's create the same things for the cancel page. Now we don't have it. The page isn't created. Let's create that one in our orders, inside the main, and then we want to have it inside the orders. So we're going to have a folder called cancel and a file called page.tsx. Let's add that one to here. So this code is very similar. And if you look at the final version, you can see we just have a icon, a X square icon from Lucid React. Then we are going to have a title, order canceled. We're going to have a paragraph, your order has been canceled successfully here. And finally, we have a button, continue shopping. That's it. So these two pages are necessary because inside the payment, if you go to the setting, we can see we have a success page, which is this page, and a cancel page, which is this one. So if the payment is successful, we're going to be inside this page. Otherwise, we're going to go to the cancel page. Now we want to update our cart page. So let's go to the cart and page.tsx. Let's update this one to be able to have the payment functionality. First thing first, I want to import two things here. So the first one is going to be that function that we have created order. And also we want to have that order data for the TypeScript reason from OneEntry. Also, we want to have everything we have, like a remove item, update item, everything else is here. But I want to add that clear cart as well. So when we press the payment and we go to the pay inside the Stripe, we want to clear the cart completely. And then we want to add some function here. So let's add a function. So this function is going to be create order and checkout. So we just pass the data here. For example, the form data, the form identifier. Remember, we have created this form with this marker order form. So here we're going to say that one. And then we want to have a payment identifier, which is a Stripe underline payment. Make sure to have a same name and everything else. Look, a Stripe payment, underline payment. And then we want to pass the products. So the products we want to add is their ID and also the quantity. Finally, we want to get the URL. So we use that create order function that we have created here. We pass the data and we receive the URL. And finally, we want to clear the cart. And after clearing the cart, we want to redirect the user to this URL that is receiving. So it can be two URLs. So one is cancel or success. So if it's success, we want to go to the success page. If it's cancel, we want to go to the cancel page. So everything else will be the same, except we want to call this function. So when we inside this button, which we say place order, where was it? Proceed to checkout. So here we want to have that event listener, on-click event listener. When you click on it, we want to call the function create order and checkout. So everything is completed. Let's go and test it in our application. Let's go to the cart. We click on proceed to checkout. We have two items here. Remember, we have this bag, 2 bags, one is 3,000, one is 1,000, and the total price is 4,400. Let's proceed to checkout. When we proceed, we go to the Stripe. As you can see, we just need to have an email here. This can be, because this is a test mode. Let's see, it's the test mode, anything you can write down here. But that one is going to be sent to the OneEntry. So the method here, you can have a test card. For example, you can say 42, 42, 42. Any year, for example, you can say 9, and the year should be a future year, 26, and the CVC can be any number, 3 numbers. And the card number, I just write down this one, and we can press pay. Once we pay, if it's successful, we go to the success page. If it's not successful, we go to the cancel page. So now let's check the OneEntry. We go to payments. As you can see, one payment has been done. Just the time is just 1 minute ago. And if you go to orders, we can see that, let's go back inside the orders. Okay, now we have one order. As you can see, we have one order. The price is 3,000. This is 1,000. And the status as a default is processing. And also the user email is also received from Stripe. So now, if I want to change the status, for example, the product is ready, we want to send it to the user, we can just say shipped, for example, and then the user is going to notify that we shipped it or delivered or canceled. All right, that was it for creating the orders. Let's add this one to the GitHub. So the message would be add order creation and success and cancel pages with checkout functionality. Let's add this one to the GitHub by committing and pushing it. In the next section, we're going to work on the orders page. So we want to create a page and show the orders of the user. So they want to know that the order is delivered, canceled, and etc. So we're going to work on that one in the next section. So see you in the next section. All right, welcome back. In the last section, we have completed our orders functionality and the page. We have completed this success and cancel pages, and we have been able to pay our products through Stripe. In this section, we're going to work on the orders page. Now we don't have this page. If you look at the eraser, you can see inside the orders folder, we had cancel and success pages. Now we want to have another page called /orders. So we need to create another file inside this folder called page.tsx, and we're going to have this page /orders. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and create that page. So inside the orders, I'm going to create a new file called page.tsx. All right, we're going to paste the code here. So it's a client-side component, as we need to have some interactivity with the page, like clicking and fetching the data using useEffect. Then we have imported button from shadcn. The other things we need to import from shadcn is the badge. So let's go to shadcn. Let's search for the badge. It's here. Badge is just we want to have some badge, for example, say delivered, canceled, shipped, and etc. So let's copy this code and paste it inside the terminal. Let's clear the terminal. All right, so now let's try. Okay, now we don't get that error. And then also we need to import some icons like package, truck, check circle, alert, X square from Lucid React. The other things we need to do is to create a server action to get the orders. So let's create that one. Inside the actions and inside the orders folder, we have already created create orders. That's yes. We need to create this get orders. Let's create it here. Yeah. So it's very simple. It's a server action, as we need to protect this data from the users, and we need to execute it inside the server of our website. Then we get the fetch API client from OneEntry and cookie from Next headers, because we need to have access to the cookie of the browser in order to be sure that which user is getting the information. So first we initialize the app client, and then we get the access token from the cookie using the method called get. If there's no access token, we're gonna throw an error saying missing access token. If there is an access token, we just want to get the orders using this method, set access token. And we get all the orders using get all orders by marker, and the marker is orders. If you remember, inside the OneEntry for the orders, the marker is orders. So we need to make sure to use the correct marker to get the result. And then finally, we're going to return the orders. Okay, now let's go back to our orders page. Let's delete 2 letters. And now we don't have any error in this page. And also we need to import use router from Next navigation to be able to redirect the user from one page to another. Here, we're going to define some type scripts for the product, like ID, title, price, and quantity, and also for the order item. And here for the order as well, or order. So it's just for the TypeScript. It's not that important. This one as well. And finally, we're going to have our component. First, we have a piece of state called orders because we want to save the orders we get from OneEntry to this piece of state. And then we want to have isLoading effect because if you look at the final here, you can see we have a loading effect here. Let's refresh the page. First, we have a loading effect, and then we see the orders. So we have this piece of state is loading, and then we're going to initialize router as well using use router. In the next step, we have a use effect React hook to fetch the orders. So we just say get orders. We use this function that we have created in this file. We get the data. And if the data is not undefined, we're going to set the orders to this data. Otherwise, we want to set the orders to 0. And finally, we're going to set the isLoading to false to remove the loading effect. In the HTML part, we have the title. As you can see here, my orders. If there is a loading, we want to see the spanner. This is spanner. And after the loading is finished, we want to show all the orders. We map through the orders. And first, we see the order ID. You can see order number 1. Then we see the badge, which shows the order's status identifier, which is this one, which already canceled. So inside the OneEntry, if we go to the orders, and here, instead of cancel, if I change this one, for example, to delivered, and if the user checked this website, you can see they have delivered instead of canceled. So we can change the status of their orders easily from OneEntry. After that, we want to show the date and the total number. As you can see here, this is the date, the total price, and finally, we want to show all the products. We map through all the products and show that now we have 2 products here. One is the bag, and the other one is here. Yeah, that's it for creating the order page. At the end, if there is no order, we want to say no orders found, and you haven't placed any orders. Start shopping, and we create a button that's saying continue shopping. And if we click on it, we go to the home page. Yeah, that was it for creating the order page. Let's add this one to the GitHub. Stage all the changes and create a message saying add order fetching functionality and create the my orders page. And then we commit and push. In the next section, we're going to complete our profile page. So now we have this profile in the menu, but we haven't created this page yet. So in the next section, we're going to focus on creating this page. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the My Orders page. In this section, we're going to work on the profile page. If you look at the file, our razor for the final page we are creating is this profile page. Inside the main directory, inside the app directory, we're gonna create a folder called profile, and inside this folder, we're gonna have a file called page.jsx or tsx for TypeScript, which is going to create our page, which is /profile. So let's create this one in our Visual Studio Code. So let's go to app main, and we're gonna create a folder called profile and a file called page.tsx. So here's the code. So as usual, this is a client page because we have some interactivity here, because we're gonna use state and use effect from React. So we cannot have a server page. Then we're gonna have some icons from Lucid React like package, $, and calendar. And then we're gonna have an avatar from shadcn and avatar fallback. We're gonna have the information from the user. We can get it from this function that we have created before, get user session. Also, we want to get the information about the orders of that user. We can get it using this get orders. And here's are the TypeScript for the user we can get from OneEntry. And also, we're going to have redirect from next navigation to redirect the user from one page to another. First, we want to define the TypeScript, the interface for types, and then we're going to have our page. First, we want to save the information of the user inside this hook called user. And then we're going to have the stats hook. The initial value is going to be 0 for the lifetime orders, lifetime spent, yearly orders, yearly spent, and monthly orders and monthly spent. Then we want to have a loading effect. So when we refresh the page, we're going to have a loading effect. If you look at the final version, we go to profile now. As you can see, first we have a loader, and then we see the profile page. First, we want to activate the loading by using the use effect, React hook, for 1.5 seconds, and then we're going to clear it. Then we want to check and get the user data and save it to this variable called user data. If there's no user data, if there is a user data, we want to set the user to this one. If there's not, we're going to set the user to null, set the loading to false, and we redirect the user to the login page. So they cannot have access to this page if they are not logged in. And then also we want to get the orders using the get orders method. If there is a orders, we want to set the initial value of the orders to 0. Then we want to put the value that we are getting from the orders. So like the full year, we get the months, and also we can get define the year here. We can define the current months here. In order to calculate the lifetime, we want to do it like this: incremented by 1 and incremented by the total sum. And finally, we want to do the same things for the yearly and the monthly. The next step is to set the stats from the information we have created at the top. Then we want to have our HTML. First, we want to have a title saying my profile, like here. The next step, if there is a loading, we want to show the spanner like this. And if there's no loading, we want to show first the avatar of the user, which has the initial letter of the user, which in this case is S. Then we're going to have the identifier, which is the email. And then we want to have another title for my stats here. Then we want to show the stats card, which is showing the lifetime orders. So lifetime orders is 1. Then we have the lifetime spent, which in this case is $4,000. And then we're going to have the yearly orders and spent, which is here. 1 order and $4,000 spent. Here's are simply just the cards that we have here. We have defined them here. Icon, title, value, and sub-value. And if there is no order, we want to show that 0 for all of them at the end. All right, that was it for creating the profile page. Let's add this one to the GitHub. All right, so this message is going to be add user profile page with statistics, and we can commit and push. So in the next section, we're going to deploy our application to Vercel. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the last page of our project, which was my profile. In this section, we're going to deploy our application to Vercel. Let's search Vercel in our Google, and we go to vercel.com. It's completely free to create your application, and it has a very free tier, like a very generous free tier. Once you're logged in, you can just click on Add New and click on Project. You can see all your GitHub repository here, and you just choose the GitHub repository you have related to this project, which in my case is Next e-commerce. I just press on Import. What you need to do here is to go to your GitHub environmental variable .env.local. You just copy both of these and paste them inside the environmental variable. And then you just press on deploy. This is just going to take a while. If you check here, this is now deploying, and you can see that it's building and it started to build. If there is an error, we can get here, and we're going to fix in our code to get our proper deployment. All right, seems like we have got some error. So the error is just related to the TypeScript. I'm going to fix it and try it again. All right, I have fixed the type errors now. We can go back to this project. Let's refresh the page. And then we can go to deployment. We can see that the new deployment has started with my new commit, which is fix types errors. All right, this time the deployment was successful. Now we can just go here, and here's our website. We can just click on it. As you can see, the URL is next e-commerce sigma page.vercel.app. Let's refresh the page. All right, now you can see now we are getting our products here. Let's go to the login page. Let's log in with the user. Okay, it's working. Let's go to our orders. And we can see the orders. We can go to profile. The profile is working. The only things we need to do is to update our payment pages. If you go to payments and to the setting, you can see the success and the cancel pages are for the localhost 3000. We need to update it with our new URL, which is here. Just copy the URL and paste it here. Let's remove the extra /. Now it's okay. So everything is fine. So the page is working fine inside the Vercel. So that was it for creating our e-commerce website using OneEntry headless CMS. I hope you enjoyed and learned many things. Please let me know your opinion about the projects and if you want to see anything in my channel. So see you in the next project.